A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen dinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll feel safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
Woo! All right, we're here. We're all here. And, yeah. I'm not even going to introduce Smokey separately as like as a guest or anything. He's just a co-host at this point, so I'll just bring him in with the rest of us, I think.
Hopefully gives the guests a chance to talk this time around.
I know, yeah. He's always monopolizing our time and stuff, and he's like that, you know. Especially when he gets a few drinks in him, he's just has to be the center of attention as always.
No.
He'll be rolling over and showing everyone his junk in a minute. So yeah, prepare yourselves for that. But hey, we are here, and sorry we're late and gay, as we didn't used to be like this. This is the thing. We had a really good run of like starting more or less on time, and then tonight time seems to have run away with me.
An interesting choice of the word "we" in there, but you know what? That's great.
I'm totally putting you in. The blame is on you just as much as me, MauLer. Like, I think what we can take away from this situation is we've all made mistakes, and we just need to move past them.
A problem shared is a problem halved, or something. Philosophy. There you go.
That's it. Or misery loves company. I don't know.
Either way.
Yeah. But anyway, well, we've got a bunch of guests in this evening, and we've got a load of cool things to talk about, as we always do. So we should start bringing them in, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board.
All right. Well, I'm glad you are. I'd be a bit worried if you said, no, don't bring anyone in.
This is the week where I'm like, nah, no guests.
I'm just not doing it. Smokey, should we bring in guests? No, he's dead. That's fine. Anyway, well, this is making his debut on the open bar. This is a guy that I've talked about a couple of times before. He's from Liverpool, but apart from that, he's all right. And yeah, he produces some excellent reviews and breakdowns of movies and stuff. He does not hold back when it comes to The Message. So he's a man after my own heart, and his style is just bang on for the open bar. So it seemed like a natural thing to bring him in. He is Reaper. Welcome, sir.
Hi, how's everyone?
Oh.
Yeah, doing all right.
We're surviving. But yeah, thank you for coming on, man. This is actually what we were talking about this before. This is like the first time you've done a sort of live stream appearance, so we're honored to have you on for this one, man. Thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's pretty good to be on open bar. I've been watching for a while. It's good to be on.
Thanks, man.
Glad to
yeah. All right. Well, we've also got George the Giant Slayer, who's making his return after a couple of months off. So great to have you back, my friends.
Great to see you. Great to be here. A lot to talk about today.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And we have also got Echo Chamberlain. He is, I don't know, could you call like a Kiwi an intellectual? I suppose it can happen. Yeah, it's possible, I think. But yeah, he is joining us again on the open bar. So, hey, man.
Hey, I don't think you should call us guests. You should refer to us as magical people. I think would be a more suitable term. It's been a minute, and I didn't think in my lifetime I would see in the span of a month both Peter Pan and Indiana Jones getting punched out by strong female characters.
I mean,
there you go.
Yeah. It's been quite the month. Yeah, it really has.
It's the cultural
we always think it's funny, right? Because so many times I see stuff like this, and like there'll be a movie or a TV show, and you think this is it. This is peak nonsense, and it can't possibly get worse than this. They're going to start to learn their lesson now, and yet they always find a way to take it to the next level and get ever worse. And well, we're seeing it now, aren't we?
I think we're about to see it with Barbie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll get to Barbie in a second. Yeah. But yeah, we've seen Peter Pan get punched out. We've seen Indiana Jones get punched out. It's it's very.
He
impressive.
literally got punched out.
Yeah, it's great to see all our favorite heroes from yesteryear just get absolutely humiliated on screen. I really love it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had Aquafina rapping like a Wookiee with Tourette's. We've had Elemental has its first non-binary character in the form of a 600-degree walking torch. So I guess that's
Wow.
good for diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the weird cultural end times where anything goes.
It's
I
funny,
mean-
like I actually just saw your review, Reaper, of like Elemental.
That film was
you-
terrible.
Well, yeah, you pointed out that like the male character yet again is an absolute fucking pussy who just like cries his way through the entire movie. Like, imagine if he'd been the one who was like hot-headed and filled with passion and like loses his temper and everyone's kind of scared of him. Of course, that's never going to happen, but it would have been interesting just for a
Yeah,
little
it might
change.
have actually been a good movie.
I didn't think anybody watched Elemental. I didn't even know if it was real. I thought it was one of those mystery unicorn films that no one can actually access.
I think it made
But the
about
first time you
£2.50 at the box office.
Wow. Well, it's a little bit better than what Disney's Indiana Jones. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, did you think that he would ever allow himself, like if his younger self could talk to him, would Ford say, like, yeah, one day you're going to get smacked by a woman and put in your place?
I mean, yeah. You could never have watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and thought this guy is eventually going to be a decrepit old man who just wants to die, and then a strong, empowered woman is going to knock him out and drag him back to New York through a time rift.
Well,
We live in the worst timeline. We really do.
bear in mind, in the actual final Indiana Jones film, his dad compels him not to take the Grail, and then he makes the choice. He isn't knocked out by Henry Jones Sr. and dragged out of the temple. You know what I mean? Like, they knew how to write stories back then. They knew how to maintain the balance of agency.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I know a few people who even like Dial of Destiny. Yes, they exist.
Really?
You know? A few people who like it don't much like that final choice being taken away from him. And I was like, yeah, well, nobody should like whatever the fuck that shit was.
Did the people who liked it, did they live in padded rooms? Just curious.
Yeah.
I guess
they
they still have
eat
an
their own
internet
feces?
connection, but yeah.
I had my moment of pure existential bleakness was in a cinema watching Nazis in an airplane shooting down at Roman soldiers, and the only other people in the cinema on opening night were an elderly couple, some couple making out in the back, and one mentally challenged person who brayed like a donkey when Indy got punched out. That was my experience of watching Indiana Jones.
Wow.
It's good to know that, it's made about 300 million so far at the box office. It's probably not going to get much beyond that. It needed to make about 900 million to break even. That movie is just an absolute calamity. But speaking of which, the Barbie movie is upon us. And we've started to get reviews of it coming out. And wow, because I've said before on Open Bar, right? I had no idea what to expect from this film. I didn't know how, like, if it was going to make $1 billion or if it was going to absolutely flop, because there was really nothing to gauge it against. The trailers just made it seem like a happy clappy sort of kid-friendly comedy with like lots of bright colors and stuff. Like, there wasn't much given away there, and now it's out and people have had a chance to see it, and I'm hearing bad things about this movie. I know the warning signs were already there from the cast. They started giving interviews in the run up to this movie coming out, and you had absolute intellectual powerhouses like Simu Liu saying this movie's gonna like smash open the gates of gender norms.
That's right.
It's gonna redefine like what it is to be a man and a woman. It's going to be a hardcore feminist movie, and I thought, well, okay, fine. Like, be interesting to see what they do with this, because Barbie, I guess, you would assume it would have to be some kind of feminist movie, and that's fine. Like, it's pro girls. It's pro, like, you can do whatever you want and be whatever you want. I guess that was the ethos of what Barbie always represented. So, it seemed like it was just going to be a fairly easygoing comedy with generic sort of female empowerment stuff in it. And then now that it's out, I've started to hear some stuff that it doesn't sound good. I can give you a brief summary as I understand the plot.
Can I? I mean, you could, but you also. What's your source on that? Because the plot is on Wikipedia, pretty well summarized in terms of what you get in this film. And from what I've seen of different people posting tweets and all that, I was like, oh, I guess some people are real pissed at this Barbie movie. But I thought we were dealing with a fun movie that takes plastic dolls and puts them into a real world, and you get some wacky scenarios and visuals and jokes. I had no idea we were heading for what, like, to give you an idea, right? This is the opening premise statement of the film, which I seriously, I had no idea this is what we're aiming for, but it says, stereotypical Barbie and a wide range of fellow Barbies all reside in Barbie land. It's like, all right, good start. A matriarchal society where all women are self-confident, self-sufficient, and successful, while their Ken counterparts spend the days engaging in recreation activities at the beach. The Barbies hold all important job positions such as doctors, lawyers, and politicians. That's the opening premise. Like,
that is not, yeah, that is correct in terms of what this film presents to you. So,
Isn't
yeah,
it? Oh, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so Barbie Land is a matriarchal society. So as MauLer described there, the Barbies are the ones in charge. The Kens are just kind of looked down on as being a bit silly and like they're not to be taken seriously. They're just something to look at, I suppose. Kind of like, I don't know, this sort of stereotypical view of women in the 1950s or 1940s or something like that. Barbie and Ken then go into the real world, which is a horribly misogynistic place, like stereotypically over the top, like men are just walking down the street slapping women's asses. Oh, that's the Barbie producers here phoning you saying, "Don't take part in this."
That's the open bar noise to remind you to drink. That's what that is.
But yeah, oh, there we go. But they go into the real world. Ken discovers the patriarchy and says, yeah, I want to be part of this. And so he brings that patriarchal infection back to Barbie Land with him. And the Kens take over. They become like the rulers of Barbie world, with Ken himself as like the leader of them. And the Barbies are subservient to him. And they have to use the power of feminism to overthrow this patriarchal rulership of Barbie world.
If it wasn't for
restore things back to the correct way where women are in charge.
If it wasn't for the last minutes of using the power of feminism, the Ken taking over Barbie Land sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the thing. Like you could absolutely frame this as Barbie being the antagonist of the movie, and Ken's just like this guy who wants equal rights. For his oppressed minority there. But the funny thing, it ends with the Barbies reasserting control and deciding they're going to restructure their society. And so the question is, well, what's to become of the Kens, because they feel very hard done by in all this. And shall we make things equal? And I kid you not, Barbie says, no, we're not going to make it equal, not until things are equal in the real world.
What? Oh my god!
So the men in the Barbie world will have equal rights once women in the real world have equal rights.
Ugh.
That's the movie right there.
I thought Oppenheimer was supposed to be the horror. When I saw that Kate McKinnon was in this, that was my first hearing the Jaws theme music a little bit, that there might be something off. But I actually think the premise is really good if you just done it with a lighter touch. If you had the idea that Barbie has to go through a journey where she becomes less of a bimbo and more of a rounded character, and then Ken goes through a journey where he starts to revel in his power, and then things normalize and stabilize back at the end, that'd be a great story.
Yeah,
but
if you could get to a point where it's like,
yeah,
it's like if they both recognize, hey, we've both got things to bring to the table here. We're slightly different, but we've both got strengths and weaknesses. Let's all work together to make a better world. Okay, it's simple and it's cheesy, but okay, it works as a premise. This is like, no, women are just fundamentally better. They deserve to be in power. They might allow you to have a little bit of power if you prove that you're not going to misuse it, or that you're going to be, you'll stay in line. But that's the best you're going to get. And wow, I didn't think this movie was going to be so on the nose. Really? I honestly thought it was just going to be this lighthearted, this was a piece of marketing genius. The marketing people behind this really understood how to keep the mask on.
Yeah, I think
Until,
Smokey's
until
going
the
to get
last
us
moment.
demonetized here. Smokey,
This is like the opposite of a lot of modern trailers where they throw in like a line and you're like, oh, what the fuck? What's this film going to be about? Then you watch the film and that one line is the only line of that line's kind in the whole
Right.
thing. And you're like, why'd you put that in the fucking trailer? This seems to be the reverse where they didn't put any of this in the trailers. I didn't believe this. When people tweeted that this was what the film was about, I was like, yeah, okay, that would be funny. And then people were like, no, that's real. And I was like, how could this be real? Why would they make the story about this?
They must have said to the actors and stuff like, right, shut the fuck up. Don't say anything about the feminist stuff. Just like, smile and look pretty and stuff. We're gonna do our marketing whiz on this, and we're gonna just spin it as a light-hearted comedy that's not politically tinged at all. And it worked. It really worked, and it fooled so many people leading up to this film because nobody knew what it was going to be about. And now it seems like the mask is off and there's no hiding it now. They obviously have to let people see it for what it is. And wow, I just think if this is as it's described, it's going to be the most divisive, mean-spirited, incendiary movie that you could ask for in a situation like this. And it didn't need to be like that. You could have done something just so much easier and so much nicer for people.
Well, you could tell.
Talked about.
Well, you could tell from you could tell not from the trailer, but from the first headlines that started coming out from the critics, like this is a feminist manifesto, a master's degree. But then when you look at it, you're talking about a product that's been around, what is it? Barbie has been around 50 to 75 years. Instead of catering something specifically to kids, you now have Margot Robbie following that same glide path that most of these actresses do. They start out as sex stars, Wolf of Wall Street, Harley Quinn, and now she's transitioning with the rest of the cast into kind of like the hairy underarm Jane Fonda talking about capitalism. But what is Barbie? I mean, when I was reading about it and looking at it, I was like, this is just a software update for Gen Z. We got to fix a few of these glitches in the operating system. So anytime that they go out to pick up a pint and they use the wrong pronoun, someone could say, hey, get your reality in check. Go watch Barbie. I mean, I don't think this is going to succeed.
I mean, I think it's going to have a massive opening weekend because people have been duped into watching this, and so they will go see it. If it's as divisive as it seems to be, I think it'll fall off a cliff after that. Because
does anyone want to know what the? Sorry.
No, go, man.
I was just going to say, does anyone want to know what the opening weekend projections are for both Barbie and Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is 50 million and Barbie is 110.
Yeah.
More than double Oppenheimer.
What world are we living in?
I mean, Chris Nolan knew that was coming. He wouldn't make it R-rated and 3 hours long if he wanted to have mass appeal.
Yeah.
Plus, it's hard to find any theaters. Like, I have to go to San Antonio to see it in the true 70 millimeter because I think there are only 33 of them around. Because he said, if you really want to see it, you have to see it in the 70 millimeter IMAX. It's like,
I've been hearing good things about it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I mean, yeah, like I know which movie I'd rather watch, but it is tragic to think that like this abomination is gonna like potentially eclipse Oppenheimer. Like, how?
It's kind of jarring because something like this in Barbie, which is kind of high concept and has like this big meta idea, that involves striking a particular register of satire that everyone can kind of buy into, which is kind of sophisticated. But then if you undermine that by having really super heavy-handed messaging that goes in with it, then you disrupt all of that. So it's kind of all over the place.
I don't know why they would think to do that. Like, it's like this movie was made in 2017 or something, like when we hadn't progressed beyond this point of like really like hardcore, abrasive, mean-spirited sort of feminist messaging that men are shit and women are awesome and they just need to like move aside and make way. Like that has come and gone, and it just feels like such a weird product of a different time if that's the case.
You don't think it fits right in with Disney's like, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Indiana Jones cucking Indiana Jones with another co-star?
But look how that movie's done.
Right, but I'm saying it's almost like an invitation to the culture war. That's how I view Barbie. Like, come on in.
I mean, they missed the opportunity to have like what could have been a really fun movie that was just about, because apparently at some point, right, they go from Barbie land to the real world. It's like, oh, that just sounds like a movie that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where it's just fish out of water humor, and then the Mattel CEO tries to kidnap them because he doesn't want them to be found or whatever, that the real toys are based on that. I was like, you can create loads of fun action and nonsense. The Barbie world thing looks insane, just like as a place. And it's like, if they're all very self-aware and just having fun, it could have been something that I would maybe have seen and tolerated. But
Wait,
now it's
remember,
like, what?
well, I don't know if you've ever saw it, but there was the movie Enchanted, right? That had Amy Adams in
yeah.
it.
That's what
And
I was thinking about.
Yeah, it played on the similar idea of like, okay, well, you take a princess out of fantasy land and put her in the real world. Like, how's she going to cope with that? And like, how's it going to gradually, like, you know, morph her into a more realistic human being? That's not bad. I mean, it's not exactly complicated, but it's something you can work with. This just seems like, ooh, I don't know. It's just an excuse to let the patriarchy in because, like, you know, it's everywhere apparently. Like, from what I understand, the film's depiction of the real world is like this. It's the way a fourth wave feminist would view the world.
I will say,
Men are just constantly leering after women, like absolutely disrespecting them at every opportunity.
Catcalling.
Exactly, yeah, and it's just it's a hyper exaggerated version of what the actual world is, but that's like how they see it, and so that's the enemy that has to be striven against. That's the infection that gets into this blissful paradise of Barbie world.
So the conclusion of the film is that until in our reality feminism equals parity, you've essentially got a mass amount of Kens who are under a kind of house arrest in perpetuity until that happens.
well, the Kens revolt apparently at one point in the movie, but then they get kicked
Put
back
down.
down.
Yeah, because I think
well,
one
that's
line.
what I'm saying. Yeah, they get defeated by the end. But it's funny because like there's a moment in the film apparently where Barbie and Ken have gone into the real world, and someone asks Ken for the time. It's just like, what time is it? And he's so excited because someone's finally asking him for information, and they're going to listen to him. And I thought, that's not an antagonist. That's like an absolutely oppressed like protagonist. You know, trying to get away from the shackles of this horrifying dictatorship that he's been living under.
Yeah, he's
Why are we
discovering his
supposed to-
agency.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. Like, why the fuck are we supposed to be rooting for Barbie in all this? Like, he seems like the hero of this story.
Well,
He's
it's
supposed to be respected. Is that so bad? Apparently, it is if you're a fucking man.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there was a line that they said the president Barbie in this film was asked, you know, in the movie, she's asked, you know, what are Kens? Oh, they're just an accessory.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the line.
What I wanted to see was fucking middle-aged, overweight, alcoholic recruitment consultant Barbie that's single and like depressed about her life. Yeah, that's the one I wanted to see, but we're never going to see that apparently.
Kathleen Kennedy, Barbie.
Yeah, but she's rich.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like the Anita Sarkeesian wet dream, pretty much. It's come true for us.
I've seen a bunch of people making that joke, like, take a shot every time they say patriarchy and you'll die. I'm
No.
very tempted
Yeah.
to test that out. I feel like that would be fun. I might make
sounds
Drinker
like a
do it at some
challenge.
point.
I got a whole bottle of gin just ready to go.
I have a question. So Barbie won't let the Kens go free unless she has like feminism take over the real world. Is she going to go to the Middle East and like just feminize everyone, or how's that going to work?
They'll never talk about that.
Will she do it with guns, or like how oppressive will she be? Will it be like a communist dictatorship, or
They'll get a free pass mysteriously, or they won't exist in this world. You know,
there's only
because we can't-
America?
Yeah, exactly. We can't criticize anyone else.
Barbie Land in America. Makes
But
sense.
yeah, I think when I hear stuff like this, and I think how just really mean-spirited this movie seems, and how like spiteful and aggressive it comes across, I just think this is going to absolutely crater after its first weekend. I think it's going to sucker a lot of people in because there does seem to be genuinely a lot of people who are excited to watch this. I don't know why. I don't know what they're expecting to see here, but there seems to be. Like, maybe it's just like a bunch of middle-aged women who played with Barbie dolls when they were kids and they just want to see this. But yeah, once they realize what it actually is, I would assume it's going to drop off pretty sharply.
I think they're making also the same mistake that the Rings of Power cast did. You know, they were quiet for a while, and now that they're talking, it's like they're letting the cat out of the bag. You think it would have been better? It might have had a better chance to have longer legs if they would have just kept their mouths shut.
It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have mattered after you got past that first weekend, and most people saw it, and word of mouth started to spread. Like that's always the benchmark. Like the first weekend is dictated by the marketing, the second weekend is dictated by the word of mouth, and you can't fake that. You can't alter it. And so, no matter what the cast said, it was always going to get out. Ultimately, people were going to go see it on that opening weekend, and they were going to either be happy with it or they were going to be raging about it. And it'll be interesting to see what their reaction is, but I don't think they're going to like it. Particularly when you're talking about it being a family movie. Like, I can't see many fathers wanting to take their daughters to go see this if it is as described.
Well, there's someone, I don't remember where it was, but there was an article, I think it was in The Guardian. They described the first 5 or 6 minutes of the opening were supposed to be some girls playing with Barbie dolls. And one of them starts smashing the Barbie doll and saying, I don't want to be a mother.
Yeah, no, they're playing with, like, baby dolls.
Okay.
Because, like, that was what kids used to play with before Barbie came along. It was like, little girls would play with babies, like they were pretending to be mothers and stuff. And then Barbie came along, and it's like, you don't have to pretend to look after a little baby child. Like, you can pretend to be this successful career woman or whatever. And so what you get is, like, them smashing baby skulls into oblivion, and, like, they're blasting apart on screen.
Wow.
So, yeah. You can read into that what you will
Yeah.
about modern day liberal Californians destroying babies, but yeah, whatever. I'm not going to.
The movie was only made. Sorry, the movie was only made for 35-year-old bitter middle-aged women. That's who
It
the
seems
audience
like
is.
it. It genuinely seems like it. Yeah.
Well,
Didn't the Flash have babies going in microwaves at some stage?
Oh,
I hope so.
When was it made? That's what I'm interested. When was it? Was this made in 2019? Was this during the?
Let me look.
I don't think it was delayed by COVID or anything.
Because that would be interesting.
Yeah, I'll look now.
Okay.
And it's Greta
Rings of
Gerwig.
Power.
And it's Greta Gerwig. They're starting to treat Greta Gerwig like they do Anna DuVernay. It's like when you read these articles, I'm talking about what has she really done? Little Women, Wiener, some Saturday Night Live. I mean, what is her standout where she can say,
Bombs.
look.
March 22nd, principal photography began.
Okay.
2022.
Okay, so this is not a delayed movie. This is as is. Yeah, the whole, I don't know what it is, right? It's a hard one to describe, but like the buzz around this movie feels entirely manufactured. It honestly feels like it's a movie that everyone's talking about because the media says that everyone's talking about it. I don't know.
There's so little to say, I guess, other than what's this Barbie film going to be about? But now we know.
Now we know.
There was something off. I mean, I was in the lead up to it. I almost tweeted this out. This notion that I had that even like a week prior, I still had no idea what this fundamentally is, and so I don't know if that was clumsy or if they were deliberately holding back this feminist message. So like you're saying, they could cram in on the first weekend.
I honestly think they had to try and hold it back because they knew how divisive it would be. And maybe their only play here was just like keep it as bland and generic and colorful and happy clappy as possible, and hope that we get a massive opening weekend, and that'll give us enough momentum to make back our budget. But
it sounds like they're setting it up for a sequel. By what I read, like the ending.
Why not, eh?
Because supposedly, I think what the one critic said was they set it up where the Kens finally take over everything. That's like towards the end. They rule everything and the Barbies have to take it back or something.
Yeah, so the Kens have taken over everything with the power of the patriarchy because they've decided that like they want to be like the real world where like men are in charge of everything, apparently, because I'm sure we are. And the Barbies are literally subservient. Like they're actually making comments like, oh, it's so relaxing when you don't have to think anymore. And stuff like that. And then they have to use feminist messaging and propaganda to get the Barbies to like reassert control. And so they eventually do, and then they rebuild their society, their system of government, with women in control of everything. And I can't believe I'm trying to like phrase this as if this some fucking political epic, like I'm talking about War and Peace or something, and it's like the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's a real cultural touchstone right now.
What is the Ken suicide rate? That's the real
I'd love to
message,
know.
because they're all held against their will. They can't talk. There's probably a mass grave behind Barbie Town with all the Kens in it.
Bobby.
Well, it just like it confirms that we don't even have. I mean, if you look at on the flip side, the actors that take these roles, they're no longer like, we don't have movie stars anymore. You just have bumper sticker slogans, people who represent an agenda or characters. Because think about when someone read the script, Margot Robbie or Simu Liu, they're reading it like, yeah, this is going to be a good film that I should jump on.
Well, that's the thing. People had a lot of faith in Ryan Gosling for his choices. He's not often in terrible movies or anything.
They should do an equal and opposite, where they have a film. It's a meta film about He-Man, where he gets plunged into the real world and he's distraught to find he's surrounded by pussies and wimpy men, and he has to try and contend and deal with that. That'd be great.
Which He-Man? Because Kevin Smith's one would love that.
Yeah. Apparently that's killed the prospect of a live action He-Man now. Because
No, really?
people fucking hated that animated show so much.
So we still have Dolph Lundgren.
I've got a genuine love for that movie. It's so dumb and so ridiculous, but I Dolph Lundgren is just great fun in it, and Skeletor, like the actor that plays him, it's just giving it everything he's got, man. He's great.
But those were the days where you could have like that like 10 to 15 year era where you had like Beastmaster and then you had He-Man. You had good camp fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it was very a very different time, I suppose. But yeah, that is the lovely the lovely world of Barbie that's coming to cinemas near you. Feel free to watch it or not, based on our recommendations.
Grace Randolph said it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Oh, now I've got to watch it.
Yeah. I feel like we could almost do an entire segment on Grace Randolph and her ridiculous takes.
Yeah.
Like, she's one of those people that genuinely has me scratching my head. Like, how are you famous? How are you a movie critic that people listen to? Because
She's
I
got
don't
brain
get
damage, probably. It's like a Make-A-Wish go for it.
Maybe God lost a bet.
Didn't she talk about Oppenheimer? Hold on, I'm gonna give you the quote if I can find it.
Yes, she's talked about it.
Yeah, so a misfire for Nolan. Too talky and like many too much information, I can't handle it. And like many of his films, it lacks emotion. The story is hard to follow and unfair to history, but the film looks good with some good performances, even if most of the characters are unlikable. Also, not a good use of IMAX. Nice job, Grace. Well done.
At least she didn't spoil how the story ends.
Yeah.
I can't stand her voice besides what she says. Just grates on my nerves.
It's a legendary voice. It's legendary opinions.
Well, she did the same thing with Sound of Freedom when she was tearing it apart. She was like, why no one's watching it? So I can imagine the way she deals with Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, her whole thing, and it's honestly like someone read the first line or two of like the Wikipedia article for this movie, and then just formed their entire opinion on that. She was like, well, it's associated with alt-right groups like QAnon, and so I can't support this. And that's it. Although interestingly, like Sound of Freedom is like on track to make over 100 million.
Yeah, this
US
week.
box office. Yeah.
I think it's currently beating Mission Impossible in domestically per theater, because I think Mission Impossible is in 4,300 theaters and it's grossing around 1,200 per screen, and Sound of Freedom is in 3,200 theaters and it's grossing 1,500 per screen. So it's doing pretty well.
I thought it was really funny because the Guardian criticized Sound of Freedom in its review for the apparently contentious theories of DHS agent Tim Ballard and actor Jim Caviezel. But then the next day, it gave a glowing review to Mission Impossible, which is helmed by a Scientologist who believes we're all immortals called Thebans.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Funny how that works, isn't it? But I don't think Sound of Freedom's even had an international release yet, has it?
No, it hasn't.
Purely just domestic.
Yeah, September 1st, I think it goes to the UK. But then there's talks that they were saying that it's going to be released on Twitter because they worked a deal with Musk either by the end of this week or next week.
Oh, wow, that'd be interesting. It'd be very interesting to see what kind of numbers that does then. I mean, would they make revenue from it?
I don't know. Yeah, they didn't say. They just said they worked out a deal with Musk so they can give it as much coverage as possible, and they're going to release the whole film on Twitter. But then I've also read that the date that it hits the UK is going to be September 1st. So I don't know how that plays.
Yeah. You've got the whole of Europe. You've got there's a lot of markets that this could still open in, and the fact that it's made 100 million essentially already just from the US domestic market on a budget of what I think 16 million or something. It was really
14.
small.
Yeah, it was like $14 million 5 years ago. I think what's interesting, it's like Hollywood's making this whole deal about, look at Caviezel and look at Ballard, look at their crazy beliefs of everyone. I'm like, did we ever look at Madonna and Oliver Stone? I mean, everybody has their beliefs in Hollywood, but I think their real fear is the fact that alternative media has now created a workaround against the Hollywood hive, and this is proof where they're going, look, people came. It's not just something that's, it doubled its budget. It's blowing out some of their big hitters.
Yeah.
Partly crowdfunded. And you do have that sense, George, that, they were looking for a reason to dislike it. And so they settled on that as their reason.
Yeah, because I've been picking it apart, trying to understand, like, why would somebody hate a movie which is trying to raise an awareness about a very important issue? And when I think it gets right down to it, everything else is a distraction. This is just, they're angry that they have an independent film that's beating them. And that's a sign of the future.
They love Oliver Stone, who's got, conspiracy theories coming out the wazoo. And that's never troubled them.
Yep.
Never.
Wasn't the movie purchased by Disney in the Fox acquisition?
Yeah.
And they just shelved it for years.
5 years.
There's nothing done with it.
I mean, it's lucky that they didn't just delete the whole thing altogether. They
Batgirl.
didn't just Batgirl it. Although I'm reliably informed that there is actually a copy of Batgirl out there.
I hope it comes out. Oh, that's just going to be brilliant to watch.
It's somewhere in the Warner Brothers vault, but yeah. With this, I guess. Yeah, let's start a campaign.
I read
right now. Release the Batgirl cut.
Yeah, I read what you posted. Isn't it gone now though for good? Like they can't release it legally, can they?
Legally,
they own
not.
the rights to it, so they could do whatever they want.
I thought because they took that tax cut of like 80 or 85 million. That's
I mean, someone could leak it theoretically.
I got you.
Yeah, it's like, well, what can we do? It wasn't our fault. But yeah, with this, it's an interesting case of a movie succeeding against the odds, and it doesn't have any support from the establishment. But there it is. It's tapped into something that people are quite invested in emotionally, I suppose. So it's good to see it doing so well.
Yeah, it is. But what I find interesting is that the media, if they didn't want it to succeed, it's like they would say good movie and move along. Instead, they keep adding fuel to the fire.
Preoccupied with it. Yeah,
it's like they're actually part of a kind of like a guerrilla marketing campaign, because then you see all the TikToks where, look, I went to the theater and they wouldn't have, the air condition wasn't on, or
it's like the Streisand effect, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying they've never learned their lesson from Joker, because that film you could die if you went to see it, and that only helped it go to $1 billion. So they've once again pushed Sounds of Freedom up to be really successful.
Yeah.
Not only could you die if you saw Joker, you could actually kill people.
Become a terrorist, watch Joker.
Yeah.
And then everyone went, oh, I like that. I'll become a terrorist.
Well, what do you think it's going to top out at? What do you, MauLer, think? What does anyone think about it topping out? You think it's going to hit 200 to 300?
I don't think 200. I think it'll get close to 200, but I think it's I think everyone's seen it, gone to see it. I'm not sure about the international market. Sorry.
Okay.
That's the thing. I wish it had released simultaneously internationally as well, because there's a lot of people that are going to have resorted to other means of seeing it. which is a real shame because they might have just gone to the cinemas to see it and support it internationally. So, yeah, like the normal, I don't know, the normal formula for this is like you get about 2 times your domestic box office internationally if it's a pretty widely appealing film. So, yeah,
But
you could have seen 300 million from this. I don't think it's going to do that now just because it's been out for so long domestically.
Gotcha. But it also lays a good ground for you and when your movie comes out.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
I'm talking about independent films. I mean, people are now flocking to them, whether it's online. We're talking about the workaround against Hollywood. I think it's working, especially with the strikes going on.
I mean, I think now, yeah, like particularly because the actor strikes are on, you're going to get, this is going to have knock-on effects for years potentially. Like even if the strike only lasts a couple of months, like that's going to delay so many projects. It's going to cancel so many projects. You're going to be feeling the effects of this for years. So there's never been a better time if you're an independent filmmaker or whatever to get into this industry, and you can work around all this stuff because the giant is sleeping right now. That's
a lot of
probably
projects that would have been put on pause and won't be able to be restarted up. Like we'll see a lot of cancellations probably in the next few months. I think they're already starting to talk about how there's projects that I've seen posts that are like, this thing is being stopped temporarily, like the Lilo and Stitch movie, the live action one. It's like production that's being stopped for the moment. It's like maybe don't ever start it back up.
Yep.
Well, I read they're going to now syndicate Yellowstone because of the strike. They weren't planning on it for a couple more years, but they're just going to go ahead and do it because they don't have anything else coming out.
Yep. Yeah. This is the problem when you can implement force majeure in your contracts, like because pretty much every movie contract's got a clause like that. You can essentially do anything. You can shit can any project you want, and you can probably claim it all back through insurance as well. It's like it got cancelled because of strike action. What can we do? We're not liable for that sort of thing. So it gives them an opportunity to get an out. Basically, if it's a project that they know is not going to be successful, they don't want to restart it. This could be an opportunity for Hollywood to clear house if they were smart.
Yeah, I agree. But
They're
I just
not
don't
smart,
think that.
but
Because we got Barbie, look at it. And right after everything that we saw with Snow White, that's what we're going to be seeing. I mean, it's like they're almost knocking themselves out.
Oh, Snow White was hilarious. Like Disney is screwed. It's like, MauLer, you and I have discussed this. Like, if you wanted to tank a product but not make it seem like you were tanking it, like this is probably the most efficient way of doing it.
I think this has got to be the last one, right? That's this overt before they're like, we can't keep doing this. People fucking hate us.
Well, you say that, but then they keep doing it.
Right.
Yeah,
We've got the Ray movie coming out. Come on, are you not
it feels
excited?
like we've reached the critical of critical.
But what about Haunted Mansion? Haunted Mansion's coming.
When's
We've
that
reached
come
the
off?
critical doggo
think
of,
next
of
month.
shittiness.
We were asked on a catch up, like, what would be the thing you tell yourself 5 years ago that would make you from 5 years ago say, "Nah, you're a liar, future me. That's never gonna happen." And we were like, "Oh, there's so many things to choose from." I ended up settling on probably the Dial of Destiny plotline. If I told myself that 5 years ago, I couldn't imagine why in the world anyone would make a movie like that. But I mean, we could have described season 8 of Game of Thrones or what Disney has done with all these live action remakes. Just like it's how unreal all of it is. So yeah, I don't know. Because I was going to say on box office too, it's getting harder and harder to predict almost anything. The only thing that's sure now is the superheroes being kicked out.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything else, like I don't know how much Oppenheimer will make. I don't know how much Barbie will make.
I don't know how much Mission Impossible is going to make.
No, I don't know.
Which that's shocking, don't you think? Because Cruise has always been a good bet, especially after you just had Top Gun.
After Top Gun Maverick, I would have thought this was a surefire $1 billion movie. Now I'm not so sure.
But do you think that's a knock on?
Underwhelming.
But do you think that's because of what's happened in the industry? Like, do you think people are like they're burned by everything that's coming out in the theaters, that they've attached that stigma?
Well, Across the Spider-Verse made quite a lot of money, and people weren't expecting that much. So it's not that I think people don't want to go watch films. It's just what do you watch is the thing.
Right.
Which,
Well, And it's become expensive in this economy. Like I went to that 950 showing that when we were talking a minute ago, Sound of Freedom, and I had free tickets from Fandango from the reward system, and it still cost me $42 in drinks,
Right.
Cokes. I mean, and think about that in this economy for a couple of people or with a family, it's just not affordable. So they stream at home.
I don't buy anything at the theater.
Ah.
Like they like triple the charge of everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's just, I never expected a Mission Impossible to do this bad. Maybe, what was it? Mission Impossible 2? Was that made by John Woo? Was it that one?
Well, that one did really well, right?
Yeah, that was the highest one in the box office for the franchise.
I thought it was number. Oh, really, Echo? I thought it was the last one.
No, it's the crappiest quality, but for some reason
it's the one that most people don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so wait, how is Dead Reckoning doing? Is it not great, or?
It's a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
So far in the box office.
I mean, it could well be that it's got long legs because, like, the people that go watch Barbie are not going to watch Mission Impossible. Oppenheimer, there might be more of a crossover there, but
What's the crossover of fucking R-rated biopics that are 3 hours long? With
essentially,
Well, the both horrors, aren't they?
men who are in their 30s to their 50s. I think guys who watch Mission Impossible are probably going to be interested in watching Oppenheimer. They're drastically.
I thought you meant between Oppenheimer and Barbie.
No.
Oh, okay.
Like there's going to be a crossover between Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer. I think, like in terms of audience.
That makes sense.
At the moment, it's sitting at 259 million worldwide. That only goes up to Tuesday, so it'll be interesting to see how its second weekend sits.
And what does it need to make to break even? $1 billion? 900?
Probably 800 to 900 because it was about a $300 million movie.
Very expensive movie, yeah.
Interesting.
It was delayed by COVID. There was a lot of problems with making it, so yeah, it's expensive.
It was such for me, it was such a weird watch in the cinema because you had a plot which is at once densely intricate, and then just random stuff would happen to just throw it out of sync. Like Tom Cruise smashes his way through the window of a train just to disrupt whatever's happening. So strange. I did love how they did every trick in the book to make the huge exposition dumps interesting. You know, they have people talking, they have it goes from one person to another, these crazy Dutch angles on people, close-ups of faces, anything to keep people's interest going while they have to explain this dense, intricate plot. So it was a strange watch.
Well, what turned you off, Echo?
The sheer length, the fact that you're having to spin all these plates in your head of who's who and all these other different factions who always seem to be coalescing in the same place at the same time. The random American guys who were also on the trail of Tom Cruise, I felt they were completely extraneous. I didn't even need them.
We talked about them previously. Like they ate up a lot of screen time and they added nothing to the story. They were kind of annoying.
And then three-quarters in,
they're not very. They're not like super competent or anything either. Like they seem kind of goofy and
It's supposed to be comic relief, which is awkward because there's barely any jokes with them either. You get one or two. Most of it's just like, oh, he keeps getting away, darn it.
Yeah, and then three-quarters of the way through, they decide. Sorry, three-quarters of the way through, they decide randomly they're going to humanize them by having them sitting down at a bar in the train and discussing the moral, ethical ramifications of everything.
There's
it's
nothing,
like the film's nearly over, you know?
Nothing funnier than like the almost antagonistic police chasing our hero who at one point just go, what if the hero's right? It's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And they overhyped the bike from the cliff scene. Because in the cinema, since everyone had already seen it already, it was kind of underwhelming. And people just went, oh, yeah, I guess that's kind of cool.
That is something I thought about. I wonder if there was zero marketing or knowledge of that stunt. I wonder if it would have gone over better in the experience of seeing it for the first time.
I think it would have done. Because it was overhyped to the point where, yeah, it's like you're expecting it to be more than it actually is. And it's like, ultimately, it's just him riding a bike off a cliff. Yeah, it's very impressive in real life, but the way it's framed in the film, it could have easily been CGI'd. Like, if you told me that was all CGI and, like, he wasn't even there or anything, I would have believed you because the way it's shot just looks that way. And it's also
the most... the most unexplained detour in cinema history. How did he get all the way up to the top of a gigantic cliff when he was
Yeah, it's like they started with the premise of like we want to have Tom Cruise ride a bike off a cliff. It's like,
Yeah,
how can we make that happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Echo, did you see Fallout, the Mission Impossible film?
Yes, I get them all jumbled in my head now. That's the one where he's dangling off the side of the plane at the beginning.
Yes, Henry Cavill's in that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
What
Yeah,
did you
that
think
was
of
good. It
one?
was tight, much better, tighter. The action's more gripping and visceral, and not too much just faffing around for a
But
quarter
part
of an
of
hour at a time.
my disappointment for Dead Reckoning is like I think my expectations got sent sky high with Fallout. I loved that movie.
Yeah,
That'd be brilliant.
plus,
you don't-
it's just not enough time to appreciate all the artistry that's going on, all the stunt work, because everything's flickering at a million miles an hour with these rapid jump cuts that you don't have a time to appreciate. I did like the chase scene in the little yellow car through Rome. That was fantastic. That was probably the highlight of the film, and it kind of just descended a little bit after that.
So you think it just had too much packed into it, didn't give enough time to breathe?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, you could see how there's 20 minutes in there that you could have gotten rid of. And it just frustrates me that unnecessary length of films when it's an espionage thriller and its DNA isn't meant to be this nearly 3-hour epic. In a
people point out-
two-parter.
As they're pointing out in chat as well, shaky cam fights. There's quite a lot of shaky cam, particularly in the alleyway fights in this, and it's like that seems like such a I don't know, like a 2000s style of like shooting action scenes.
Yeah,
like
that was the
not
other
done
thing is that
anymore.
yeah, it feels very passé to me when people go into these melees with each other and they're grappling and then they're blocking. And a part of me just wants to get through that sequence onto the next thing because it's beautifully choreographed, but I don't feel anything.
Well, especially since Fallout's had that great bathroom fight scene where he just throws him through the mirror, and it's just like that was there was no shaky cam there. That was just great choreography.
Yeah, and we got to see Henry Cavill reload his fists. You don't
And he
see
looks
that
like
in this one.
I love that bit when he hits him with the suitcase and he just falls.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, when characters use their environment interestingly, like in the Bourne films, you'd have a character leap through a window from a balcony in order to, that kind of thing. But if it's just people on top of a train and it's punch, block, parry, punch, block, swivel down, it just gets a bit tedious to me now.
Gotcha. So what is the next film that anyone's looking forward to see?
Well,
Well,
Oppenheimer,
part
really.
two's next
But
year.
after Oppenheimer. Like I'm talking about the future after this weekend. You thinking like Dune?
Snow White.
The Marvels.
Maybe, Blue
forgot
Beetle,
about
come
that.
on.
Yeah, Blue Beetle. You're reminding everybody about that film because nobody's going to remember it.
That movie is fucked because there was a tweet that went out saying like, "What are you most excited about Blue Beetle?" And I genuinely, I wasn't even making this up. It's like I couldn't think of a single thing that I was excited about with that film. It's like, nope, nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
Literally
actually
nothing.
a challenge, isn't it? It's like, I guess he's blue. I don't even know what he does. Does he have energy weapons or something?
This is a film that should have come out like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, during the height of superhero mania, it probably would have achieved some sort of audience. Now it's just like, no, like people are kind of done with superhero films, and like if you're going to get any sort of attention, you either have to be a super familiar character that everyone knows, or do something genuinely interesting and awesome.
But it's Blue Beetle as well. It's like it's not even like Batman or Superman or Green Lantern. It's let's go with the most remote character no one's ever heard of.
Yeah,
Gotta be
that's exactly what I
them-
mean. It's like this was created during a different time.
Well, have you guys heard
when-
about how Aquaman's been given reshoots again, and they've deleted all the scenes with the Batman, with the Batmen in it?
Ben
Apparently it was
Affleck?
more than- Yeah, because I think it was some kind of quote about how James Gunn and the other guy they don't want to make people think that there would be any more from Ben Affleck or. So it's such a mess because of course Aquaman's budget now is going to balloon again as if it didn't need me fucking more help to be crashed
It's
and
been
burned.
reshot entirely, like what, 3 times now, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean they're going to have to keep switching the story based on the current state of DC. They should have just put that thing out as soon as it was ready to go.
Is Amber Heard still in it?
Well, because Amber Heard is going to have at least like 20 minutes in it, right? They've been trying to reduce the role, I think, is the rumor. But
So she's still in it, yeah.
as far as I know,
Yeah.
it's hard to cut her out.
I would have
person
backed
who
her
was
over.
found in a person in the court of who literally on television everyone saw was a literal crazy person, and they're keeping her in the films. It's
Well,
amazing.
I just, you know,
Hopefully
people talk
Sorry.
about how Aquaman 2 is going to fall apart, but like Blue Beetle is the one that'll make even less because, I mean, it has to, right? I mean, at least there'll be
It's
some
got-
women who want to see Jason Momoa in the water. You know, this
Yeah.
that aspect. So
Blue Beetle, it's got no big stars in it. It's got no recognizable characters in it. It's part of a universe that's a lame duck about to get like shit canned anyway. There is nothing to recommend this film. At least with The Flash, you had, I don't know, Ben Affleck, you had Michael Keaton in it. There was something.
yeah, that kind of had the best chance out of all the DC properties to do something. But pity it was a fucking terrible movie.
Yeah.
It might have been
I
able
feel
to get
that
somewhere otherwise.
Given how bad the summer has been, that I'm almost pinning my hopes too much on Oppenheimer. Like I'm going to go into the cinema with the attitude of like a gambling addict who's put all his last money on the roulette wheel one last time and it's spinning and he's going, come on, I need this. That's my feeling about going in to watch Oppenheimer.
I don't think it's going to do huge numbers.
I don't think so either, but I'm just hoping it's a fucking good movie. That'd be nice. And
Yeah,
from what I've heard,
that
that's what
would
we're
be good.
getting. That's
Like
what
a movie for
truly
grown-ups
matters,
would be nice.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Smart
A movie
work
that
so
makes
we
me
can
feel
go,
like
yay.
a grown up.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
But hey, on the
Isn't-
plus side, Disney is about to like fall into absolute collapse because Bob
Again.
Iger's looking to sell off about a third of the company now to cover their debts. Because they have to buy the remaining share of Hulu by next year, I think. And the amount of money that they need to actually do it, they don't have anymore because they've released a series of flops at the cinema. Their park attendance is through the floor, and they essentially have no revenue streams that are viable for them anymore. Which is a nice, interesting position to be in, I suppose, as a business. Yeah, like there's a article here from CNN Business saying, in an off-site meeting on Tuesday, the Disney chief Bob Iger spoke to senior leaders of the company's television businesses. CNN has learned the meeting came just days after Iger made decidedly candid remarks to CNNBC, in which he said that Disney's linear business may not be core to the entertainment giant. So that means like things like ESPC and stuff. ESPN. The admission to Faber naturally set off alarm bells inside Disney General Entertainment Content, the division of the Magic Kingdom that houses its business and operates broadcast and cable networks such as ABC, the Disney Channel, National Geographic, and FX, all of which are looking to get sold off. This is a company that's in the midst of implosion right now. It's terrible to see. I mean, they deserve it.
Oh
Because
no,
they 100%
the
brought-
consequences of my actions.
I know. Well, this is the thing. Like they 100% brought this upon themselves. But it doesn't exactly make me happy to see it happen because it's like you're just watching like something that used to be quite nice and quite awesome implode.
Right, that's not good.
Like
I mean,
someone
but-
with dementia.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like
He isn't
it's
as
like your
healthy
old-
as it was. He used to be
Except
fun.
They're doing it to themselves, though, Reaper. if
Now
you think
he's all
about it.
sad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
it's
something
like
that
your
they
granddad who you grew up with. It's like he's awesome.
He was
he's
a
this
World
cool
War
old
II
guy.
fighter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now
Proper
he's like
heroic.
now he's like in an old folks home shitting himself.
He thinks he's driving a car, but he's on
Well,
his bed.
And it wasn't age. He gave himself a lobotomy with like a drill, and it's like, oh, why'd you do that,
he
Disney?
headbutts the wall very-
Granddad, no.
It's not going to get any better. Did you see James Gunn's list? I mean, he's got the authority. I mean, how many people have heard the authority?
Well, Legacy's first in it, Superman, and it's got
Right, but
got a
the
bunch of-
authority?
I think Superman's first in it. No, it's Creature Commando is the first thing he's doing. The
Great
animation.
choice.
Yeah,
Then-
nice one, James. Start
I
strong.
think it might be Peacemaker season 3
Yeah.
with Waller in it, and then it might be Superman Legacy,
Just
which
anything
they've announced the
that'll-
casting to.
Be season
Just
2 for
anything that lets him
Peacemaker, right?
cast his wife in things, eh?
Because I've heard him. He's made tweets about how he's going to have to rewrite a few things to get Peacemaker to fit in, and it's like, what does that mean? Are they going to fall through a portal? Are they going to make him fall through a portal of some kind? Is that what we're doing? You're gonna save all the things you want to save, but get rid of stuff like Henry Cavill. All right, fine. See how it goes.
But it does make me wonder, like, because there's always been rumors about Disney potentially being willing to sell to Apple and get bought over by them. Because I didn't appreciate this until I kind of read up about it. But like the market cap on Apple is something like $3 trillion. It is insanity. Like that is what they're valued at. Like they are worth more than a lot of like Central American countries. And then you've got Disney that's like valued at $100 billion, which again is like crazy numbers, like crazy amounts of money, but like it's dwarfed by Apple. Apple could buy them over with their catering budget.
It's a
and
rounding
still be
error
okay.
for them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what lends credence to this idea that Disney are just going to get bought up. They are not a big player in the great scheme of things.
Either Apple or Amazon, because Amazon's worth a fortune as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only two.
Yeah, but think about it. Disney's already looking at selling. What is it this week? They were announcing ABC and Fox and
yeah, it's like
what
what I was just reading off there. So yeah, like they're talking about selling National Geographic, ESPN, and a bunch of other things. Like one of their news networks as well as the ABC, I think they have. But yeah, like all of those assets, all those aspects of the company, they're looking to sell off just to start with.
right because they're going crazy. They're losing money. It's the first time they've lost money in their parks, and that was what was always sustaining them. And it's like it could burn through cash left and right on films, but now they're losing money in the parks.
Yep.
Did anyone ever get to the end of the video game Silent Hill 2?
Yes.
Because at the end of that game, there's a Shiba Inu dog that's revealed to be in control of everything. It's wearing headphones.
wow.
It's
Only if
pushing
you get the
buttons randomly.
special ending.
Yeah,
wow.
and I think that's how I account for what might actually be happening at Disney. That's the dog just pushing buttons randomly at a console.
Would make sense.
That's how I account for everything. Here's my theory that I made in a video the other day, which is Hollywood has never been more socially progressive, but creatively reactionary. So relying on existing products, existing IPs, existing characters, and milking them and strip mining them over and over again. So you have a disconnect between being socially progressive and liberal forward, but creatively reactionary and ultimately conservative. And it's that
Conservative?
there's that discrepancy is widening, and it's not sustainable, and it's a phony situation. And that's what I attribute all the main problems fundamentally to.
Don't you see them as creatively bankrupt though?
Yes.
Because they're pretty much hiring bumper sticker slogans that breathe and go to the bathroom. They're like, find someone who believes like we believe, so can push out. Because we were talking about Barbie in the beginning. Well, why would you put out a movie, right, that you actually is a product that you have an entire market for, but you're actually attacking it? They're not embracing it. They're going against.
Well, they've destroyed all their studios. They had Pixar, which can't make anything good. Lucasfilm has destroyed all their IPs, and now Marvel can't do anything.
Right.
So, like, what does Disney have to offer?
Nothing anymore.
Well, Elemental in the box office is like the worst performing feature, even adjusted from So,
especially with Mario coming. Mario's just knocked them off.
Most people doing a thing where they're sort of looking back and they're like, wait, I remember Pixar being like golden. They could release something and everyone would see it and it would be highly critically appraised. What the hell happened? And it's like, well, I mean, remember when the MCU could do that? And it's like, it's just, oh shit, yeah. And it's, I don't know, Star Wars.
Anyone been watching Secret Invasion?
I've tried. I got 2 episodes to keep up on. It's fucking painful.
It doesn't get any better.
Everyone,
just gets worse.
You have like Avengers, the movie now, where you have all these characters and you got to balance them and everything. And Nick Fury's kind of the one that's just telling them what's going on, represents the Shield leader and stuff.
Yeah.
But they still have a scene when those soldiers come aboard where he kills a bunch of them himself, like, knocks them out, surprise attacks them spy wise. And you're like, there you go, he got his moment. This whole fucking season for him is just look how shit he is now. It's like
everything's his fault.
This reminds me of like
climate change, everything.
The era of like fan service is just so dead. You know, like we used to be able to complain about it once upon a time. Like, oh, they only did that to make fans happy. It's like, oh, if only we could be saying that now.
Now they just want you to die. They just go hate the fans.
Well,
Well, Ahsoka's out next month as well.
Oh god.
yeah. Well, what's your expectation on that? Because you know,
Very little.
a lot of
Based on everything
people,
beforehand.
still a lot of
It's still
Filoni fans out
legit.
there.
I
You know,
used to be a Filoni fan years ago.
what
Years-
killed it? Which project killed it?
Yes.
Which of the many?
Yes. Yes. After Clone Wars, it's yes. No, I enjoyed it, but then it's like I really thought I was naive. I hope that he would be able to, guide it better. But come on, it's like the first episode of Book of Boba Fett and everything else he's done. It's just
The
like give me a
Vespers.
break. It's like, is anyone doing anything over there? And when's the Acolyte coming out? I keep reading about that.
Well,
Next
Leslie
year.
Headland said she fully intends to allow her personal experiences as a queer woman to shine through in the show, and she specifically wanted at least one writer who was largely unfamiliar with Star Wars. That's definitely the criteria you want for a writer on your show.
That makes no sense. Yeah, it's just crazy. Crazy
Hasn't
what
that
they're
been?
doing.
Hasn't that finished for a while now? They just got it and they just won't release it.
The Acolyte.
Sure.
Yeah, I've heard it's been finished for a while now, and they just don't know what to do with it because it's terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of like rumors swirling around this thing where it's like they've filmed it, but they didn't actually film a complete series. They only had enough for like a series of like almost one shots, like short films or whatever. Like there wasn't anything to connect them together. Or alternatively, that like it's filmed, but it's such an absolute mess that it needs extensive reshoots, and they don't have the budget to do it. Either way, like it just seems to be a mess because you kind of have to assume like if they were confident in how good this is, they would be trumpeting it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
You would be getting
Yeah.
teasers for it. They would be hyping it up. They would be getting everyone pumped for this new thing, and we've had nothing essentially, which makes you think, well, there must be a problems behind the scenes.
Well,
or
we had the
they would
actors
be
come
showing
out,
this.
and we had the actors come out, and they said, "Oh, we don't know anything about light or dark. Star Wars has never been about that." So, at least we know
Yeah.
the actors don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Being an editor in Hollywood used to be, at least partially an aesthetic thing where you're worried about pace and rhythm and tone and editing for that. Now it's about damage control. Clearly, these flaky, ridiculous actors who have to be edited out because they made these stupid pronouncements or they're in court or something. You've
What
got
was
to-
that actress that was like at Star Wars Celebration and she was out on stage in front of everyone going like, my character plays a strong female leader in a very female-centric Star Wars universe. And it's like, hold for applause. And then some people started clapping. She's like, yes!
Yeah.
Show me
Yeah,
more
baby.
praise.
Yeah.
It's like, is that all you got? Is that literally the only insight you can provide into this character? Because it doesn't seem like a whole lot.
She's the black actress who played Anne Boleyn.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
That's a
Didn't
strong
know.
pedigree right there.
This is funny because we begin this topic with like, oh, you know that project they've completed filming but don't know what to do with because it's so awful. It's like, well, that doesn't really narrow it down. Like,
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the fact that it's Ray Stevenson's last film. I love that actor. I used to enjoy all his work from Rome when he first started.
I'm sure he's going to be great in it. Why wouldn't he be? He's probably going to enjoy the role, being a little. I don't know if he's a Sith or one of those Inquisitor types, but he'll be able to play with a lightsaber and do some stuff. It'll be neat to see him. Can't say anything as to the
destroyed.
quality of the show, but yeah.
No.
It's like it's very much like the Marvels in that they've kept it hidden for as long as they can, and they're going to have to eventually show us something because we know it exists.
Well, you know what's crazy is Saw 10 is coming out in the end of September, I think. I was like, God, it's like I've heard nothing about that. Is there even a trailer? I don't think so. It's
Wasn't
like
it
the return of a
Spiral?
Saw franchise. Well, yeah, we had.
Chris
God,
Rock.
I don't know why I know this, but yeah, Spiral from the Book of Saw, starring Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. I don't know if any of you saw that movie. It was
I saw a
awful.
trailer and then I just went, no, not watching it.
It's so funny because it's like because horror's pretty consistently successful now, right? Conjuring and Annabelle and
Insidious.
Yeah, they've all got their entries. So I think Saw is just like Can I have some of that
Black
pie?
Phone.
Like,
Yeah.
because they got Tobin Bell back as well, apparently. So we'll see how that goes.
God, like yet
know.
another flashback.
Don't worry, this is not a franchise. I don't think they could ruin this like they did with everything else. Like, I don't think they can ruin. What would be ruining Saw? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it never gave a fuck about what it was anyway. It's just
Yeah.
it knows what it is. It knows what you're there for. I just want to see if people get bits of themselves like chopped off or
And learn a
ripped off or
terrible
whatever.
lesson.
Yeah.
You shouldn't
They
have
had
cut
that,
your leg off to get out. It's the lesson.
The terrible thing with that franchise is that the cool thing is the Saw character himself, that really great actor, but he was dead after the first or second one, so they had to keep coming
Yeah.
up with ways to retroactively bring him back and flashbacks
it's-
and things like that.
It was
so funny.
ridiculous at a certain point.
Kill him at the end of
Yeah.
the third one. The fourth one, the big twist at the end of it is that it takes place throughout the timeline of the third one, and then like the fifth one is continuing it all, but in his corpse there's a tape and they play it. And he's like,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
it's it's only just begun. And it's like just begun.
I mean, there's planning ahead, and then there's this. Like this guy had, he's
A guy's been in various stages of dying of cancer for 8 films, and that's
Wow.
to sort of balance it.
What I'm curious is what do y'all think if Marvel had continued doing what they did through phase 1 and 3? You still think it'd be going strong, or people would still be tired? And what
I
they're
think
doing is just adding to
it
it.
wouldn't be going strong as such. I think there would be more enthusiasm there, though. I think
Okay.
it would still decline. It just wouldn't be as there wouldn't be the antagonism there.
So
They
it's
were able
going
to
through like
maintain. They should have done a bunch of street level stuff, and they should have actually acknowledged the blip. I think there's loads of great drama you can get out of that. If they had just done those and like attempted to maintain continuity in some way, they probably would have been okay.
you mean like Netflix did with Daredevil, Punisher, that style?
Absolutely, yes. They should
I
have done. Dude, I wouldn't even be opposed to the idea that they respect and appreciate the Daredevil Netflix series, but they actually reboot with all the same like team and
I
start it
agree.
up in the blip. Have Matt Murdock see the injustice of all the damage done to all of the people of the world thanks to the blip. Let him find
Maybe
out
the
it's the
Kingpin is
heroes.
the bad guy.
Yeah, the Kingpin can be someone who just takes advantage of the entire
Yeah.
situation. That's easy. And I know it sounds crazy, but because like I think we would have talked about this when Endgame came out. But just what about you did like a 10-episode season? 1 episode per is just following a human being in the MCU world after the blip or during the blip.
Yeah.
Something really personal. It doesn't even have to be about heroes. Phase 4 was an opportunity to experiment, and look what they did.
Ugh. I mean, they turned every character on its edge. Think about it. The
Yeah.
Kingpin in the Hawkeye series, horrible. Hawkeye himself.
Painful.
And then you had Daredevil and She-Hulk. The Walk of
Oh,
Shame.
she enslaves him at the end of it, doesn't she? She rewrites
She
the
does,
entire
yeah.
MCU. She lets Abomination stay in jail.
Yep.
She could have wrote him to be a good person. She
Literally could
enslaves Daredevil to be romantic to her.
could have ended suffering.
She could have done anything.
It's like
Well,
I
you know
don't think
what?
they really appreciated how much damage that show did to just like their entire universe
Mm-hmm.
because they
Hey,
don't
remember
care.
what she said? We're trolling the fans. Remember the writer?
Oh, they
the
got us.
producers like, whoa, we trolled the fans. I'm like, yeah, you did a good job.
Troll your bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw that Twitter post from like one of the writers from She-Hulk. It's like my residual check for this was like $390. It's like, well,
Overpaid.
yeah, exactly.
Too much. Yeah.
They paid
Maybe-
you for
maybe if you-
She-Hulk? Wow.
Hey,
Maybe,
does.
maybe if you'd written something that was halfway decent, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. Like you're paid what you're worth ultimately, and you're worth fuck all.
And
Did you see
stop
that bit?
telling people?
So I was saying, did you see that bit where they jump into the writer's room and it's exactly what you expect?
Yeah.
There's literally a checkbox of diversity everywhere.
Yep.
When she meet, it's terrible.
Well, it's more diverse than the real writers' room because there's a man there, which they didn't have in the real one.
No, it's crazy, especially when you go out promoting it. Like, not only that we're trolling people. I think one interview asked him, so for the legal scenes, did you actually do any research? She's like, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's asking a bit much.
It's a law comedy. Did you do any research? No. Okay. Moving on.
Oh,
I think
trial.
I
so.
in
see
the
loads of coat posts like that will be like, people still don't understand that She-Hulk was a comedy.
Right.
You're like,
Was it?
oh, aren't comedies supposed to be funny?
Supposed to be.
It's a legal comedy where they don't understand the law and they're not funny.
So they
Yeah,
can't make fun of
they nailed it.
They can't make fun of it. I figured they would do some research so they could make fun of it, but no. It was a female empowerment film with a lot of twerking and bad lines.
But she was sad all the way through it. She kept getting like dumped by everyone and went, "This is empowerment." A sad, bitter woman who can't get a fella. She's tired all the time. She can't get hired anywhere. But this
She
is just
abuses her
sad.
power.
And think about it, Reaper. And think
She's
about
a
it, Reaper.
criminal.
She's
She
a superstar.
destroys property.
What was
She's
she's
a
a superhero?
Potential murderer. She jumps on several people. But this is empowerment.
I don't know. It's nuts.
What I
just
don't get with
wonder-
I think there's room for superhero films to still be great, but why not just go back to what's actually exciting about them, which is becoming a superhero? Like if you go back to 2008 with Iron Man, the thrill ride is becoming a superhero and finding that power, and there's not enough of that. If you have that kind of story arc, those stories can go on forever. There's not enough of them.
They're addicted to huge box office budgets. Like everything costs like 200 million. Like Secret Invasion costs like 200 million. It
Yeah.
just they need to shrink down massively. But they have so many rewrites because they're talentless that they have to keep reshooting the show, so it becomes like a giant bloated mess.
I think this has always been like, because we only hear about it now because they're starting to go wrong, but this I think was always Marvel's style of making films, where they would do a rough cut of it. They'd do like the initial version, then they show it to test audiences, then they show it to the executives, and then they'd have a bunch of like notes. Then they had to redo it, then it was shown again, and then they would gradually refine it down to like a workable final product. And it's just like it's like a movie designed by committee, and I think that explains like why the movies just got more and more exaggeratedly generic and bland and safe and corporatized over time, because that was the process that they kept using over and over again.
What do you
And,
think about it? Like, why wouldn't you do that? You know, why do they aim to do that? It's like safer. And it's like, it's not safe anymore. It's really actually the opposite. And it's burning holes in your wallet. You should find ways to be more experimental and cheaper, and then you'll get a hit. And that's literally what happened with Joker. They were like, oh, fuck, that did really well. Okay, now what?
60 million.
they don't even know what to do.
Right, but it's the same thing. Like, and I'm going back to Sound of Freedom, not a superhero film. But you're talking about $14 million budget. They kept it contained. They stuck to an original story. Forget the fact, based on true. And they stuck to fundamentals to give the audience not only a message, but something that moved along and that was engaging. I think they need to go back to the way Quentin Tarantino's. Just look at Reservoir Dogs. I mean, he didn't have
I mean, the
much
meme,
budget.
whenever
Yeah,
Scorsese or Tarantino or like a Nolan film comes out, people are all like, oh my God, it's a real movie. Look. Like, instead of all the shitty ones.
Well,
we have
yeah,
to put up with.
it's just this idea of like, we had tentpole movies that in the past were safe bets, where it's like, okay, you invest a lot of money in them, but like they make 500 million for you at the box office, and so you can use that money to then make smaller movies. That's the idea of it. They hold up everything else. They're tentpoles. But the problem is, like, we got to the point where tentpoles became the only thing we could make. And so you got these really bland, safe movies, but then people got tired of them and they lost sight of like what actually made them good in the first place.
Yes.
But then, yeah, you look back at like some of the biggest cultural movies that made an impact on us. Like when we talk about Indiana Jones, for example, like nobody's going to remember Dial of Destiny. It's going to be that horrible movie that everyone prefers to forget. You look at Raiders of the Lost Ark, it cost 20 million to make. At the time, that's about 50, 60 million in today's money. Still very small budget. And it made crazy amounts of money back then. And people will remember it forever because it had a cultural impact.
Same as
Because
Joker.
Yeah.
Joker, yep.
Yeah.
60 million. 1 billion.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, half an hour shorter than Dial of Destiny, but it still feels like a very large-scale epic fantasy.
But
because
it
it's so
shows-
much
yeah,
original world building.
Well, yeah, but you look at something like Raiders of the Lost Ark and you don't think that was a cheap movie. It doesn't look like a movie that's
not
done
at
on a small budget. It looks great and it's fun. Like, okay, some of the special effects shots, you could probably do them better in today's technology, but that's because it was 30, 40 years ago. But we need more films like that, where it's done on a relatively small budget. It's more about practical effects. It's more about good storytelling, good characters.
Just get back to basics.
Yeah, for the price of Dial of Destiny, you could have made 5 or 6 Raiders of the Lost Arks. What would you rather have?
Yep, 5 Raiders.
One key thing that was missing from Dial of Destiny is that a key element of Raiders of the Lost Ark was a bit of good old-fashioned horror. You have melting faces. You have that guy, the medallion singeing and burning into his flesh as the Nazi picks it up. So you
Actual
had that
blood.
horror elements, actual
Yeah.
stakes, an actual sense that people could get hurt and people could die in the film. That added that extra layer to it. Whereas Dial of Destiny,
But Raiders
It's
also had
sterile.
a hero,
Yeah.
a real hero, someone to look up to. I mean, you need a hero. They hate heroes today. Unless they fit and suit their agenda. I mean, the only good thing that Dial of Destiny did is it made, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull look better.
I've never walked out of a film. Never walked out of a film, but the scene where they shoehorn in that Mads Mikkelsen scene where he's got his binoculars and says, "Oh, they're actually not going that way. They're going that way." That was a time when I actually looked to the aisle of the cinema and thought, "Should I get out? Should I go now?"
Time to
I
go.
was close.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I just can't believe how calm everyone was when a plane was shooting miniguns at just mowing down all the Romans, and they're going, "Oh, it's a dragon. There's no fire. It's just bullets."
It's just I love to know the thought process amongst those Nazi soldiers as well. Like, right, we've been transported 2,000 years back in time. We're in the midst of a battle between Romans and like Greeks or whatever. What do we need to do? We need to start shooting at them. Why? Don't know.
Just do it.
That character Boyd Holbrook played, when he just starts shooting them, and then one of his men gets like impaled by one of the whatever the Romans are tossing at him. Yeah, like and then he looks to Mads Mikkelsen and he's like, "Boss, like, what do we do?" And it's just like, man, what the fuck were they thinking? Like,
It's like,
How do
just
they hit them
fucking
as
go
well?
up, go
How do
up.
Like ballistas are like these really slow Roman things that took like 3 people to crank them. How do they
Go
like
up.
perfectly hit this flying plane?
yeah, they're
Yeah,
fucking
Dial of
great
Destiny.
aim.
It's like
Dial of Destiny also had the laziest setup I've ever seen in a film. Where there's a scene where they're going to the auction, and there's like 20 seconds where the little short round equivalent substitute kid, he's pretending to like fly a plane on like a little wooden setup in the thing, and someone says, "No, you've got to raise the throttle 20 degrees if you do that." And you just watch that scene and go, "Oh shit, he's gonna fly a plane later on in the film, and it's gonna be."
well, he
stupid."
hot wires it first somehow.
Yeah.
I was
You know,
saying
you know what was always a hallmark of the Indiana Jones movies as well was the bad guy getting their comeuppance, because they always died in a horrific way, like whether it's your face melting or like you rapidly
eaten by a
age, or, like,
crocodile.
eaten by crocodiles, or like your fucking head explodes because like interdimensional aliens have got possession of you. In this one, it's like the guy just kind of dies off screen in a plane crash. It's like so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Well, we get to see him cry a bit before that.
Yeah, he looks sad.
Oh, I forgot about that. I
suppose.
put it out of my mind. Jesus, you reminded me.
But it's just it's so emblematic of the whole film, where it's like it's just an afterthought. Everything's like
Well, Phoebe's the
soulless
real villain, isn't she?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
the villain. In
Maybe
there.
that's why she gets to live a long life. She takes over all this stuff. It's a horror movie. If you look at these films, like horror films, like Barbie, they're actually okay if you look at them from a completely inverted perspective.
It's they're like Misery basically.
If you go in going, I just want everyone to suffer, then you watch Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
How did she become famous? That's what I don't get. How did she get into everything? Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Fleabag.
That's it. It was just
She did
Fleabag.
Fleabag, yeah.
Women love that show. So that's
Okay.
basically, and Kathleen Kennedy's like, haha, she's so funny in Fleabag, she'll make a great Indiana Jones replacement. Which makes just a terrible idea.
Crazy. We might not get the adventures of Helena Shaw now because this film's made enough
She'll
money.
be in Tomb Raider though. That's the
Oh,
best.
right.
So I cannot think of anyone worse to fucking run Tomb Raider than that.
You still think after the way it was so bad, they'll still have her in Tomb Raider? I figured.
Oh yeah, Kathleen
Presumably-
Kennedy is still in Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
She will,
unfortunately.
there's no way they're not going to make these terrible movies.
I mean, we
But
saw
I think-
career repercussions for Patty Jenkins, so maybe we'll look out.
I think with this, like when you've got a contract that's written and signed, like they can't just break it. Like they might have to pay her like a lot of money to get rid of her or whatever, but
It'd be worth it. Pay her off. Go
well,
away.
I mean, we posited like on the last open bar that Phoebe Waller-Bridge obviously had a lot of success with Fleabag, and she's a very good observational comedy specialist. Like that's what she does. She can take real life and like extrapolate it into this dramatic comedy thing, where it's just like everyday stuff that's just wrapped up in a ludicrous shell. Like fine, but the problem is like we need you to be more than that now. Now you have to be able to do Star Wars, you have to be able to do Indiana Jones, you have to be able to do Tomb Raider, like fantastical stuff that's way outside just everyday mundane stuff. And if you don't actually have creative imagination that you need to be able to do this, you can't make any of this stuff work. And I think that's where she's going to come unstuck. They've tried to fit her into a mold that she's absolutely not suited for.
Yeah.
Well, Tomb Raider, she won't raid tombs anymore. She'll just give them back to whatever indigenous population she comes across.
Give the whole tomb back.
She goes,
I
well,
can't.
the problem is, if she's in the Middle East and goes, yeah, ISIS, here's your tomb back, and they just set fire to her.
Yeah, they start smashing all the statues and everything.
He comes in, all these priceless artifacts, they just blow up.
I just can't imagine how she, like someone with her sensibilities, could possibly write Lara Croft.
Right.
Because Lara Croft is supposed to be like
Femme fatale.
a femme fatale. She's almost like
One.
James Bond crossed with Indiana Jones, but female. Like that.
Yeah, like
that's
Catwoman,
kind of-
yeah.
Well, especially we've had Angelina Jolie play her.
Angelina
And then,
Jolie did a good job.
I
I
thought
hate to
so.
say
That's
it,
why. No, I
was
agree with you.
hot.
I agree with you, Drinker. But you're gonna go from Angelina Jolie to Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
No,
I don't think
well, she's
Phoebe
not-
Waller-Bridge
she's
is gonna
not-
be playing
Yeah,
Tomb
she's not
Raider.
playing her. She's just writing her.
No, she'll be
Right,
a
but
mother
the
who tells her how
mentality
to
that
do
she-
everything.
She'll be
Right,
her
the
butler, and
mentality
she'll make
that
loads of
she
shit
had.
jokes.
Right, but do you
Alfred,
think-
yeah, but she does everything as well.
I
but
think
with
you
her
would need to have like
mentality-
Alexandra Daddario or Haley Atwell to play Lara Croft.
I like Haley Atwell. I'm just saying that with Phoebe Waller-Bridge's mentality, I figure she's going to carry that through into the actress.
I think so, yeah. I think she's going to try and make Lara Croft like there's going to be a lot of self-deprecating humor. Yeah, there'll be a lot of like just
Lectures.
It's like we have to just constantly make fun of this idea of what Lara Croft is. You know, we have to deconstruct it, and it's like, oh, she's not actually sexy. She's kind of goofy and like stupid behind the scenes, and all that facade of sensuality and femme fatale is it's just nonsense. And it's going to take away the core elements of what Lara Croft is, I think.
She is everything they hate. She's attractive. She's smart. She's flirtatious with men.
Yep, she's
She's,
sexy.
She's an
yeah.
aristocrat as well.
She's an
Like, they will
aristocrat.
not like that.
She raids tombs of people who are not white. They
Very
despise
true.
her.
Well, you can see what they can see what they tried to do with like the remade Lara Croft in like the reboot video game series, where she's suddenly this sad sack that's constantly apologizing for everything while simultaneously killing like hundreds of men. And yeah, she's not super rich anymore. She like works as like some shitty journalist or something like that, and like her family home is like fallen into ruin because she can't afford to pay for anything, because that would make her too unrelatable if she was rich and aristocratic. It's
How
like,
does she
yeah, but-
afford anything? That's like her being rich was a big part. Like she can go on these massive adventures because she
Yeah.
can afford it. It's like
That-
Batman. Batman
Well-
on a budget doesn't work.
Exactly. That it made sense that that's what she was able to do, because she had all this wealth and all these resources behind her. She could just go on these big quests.
Get a plane, bribe people, get guns. She could do all that stuff because she had the money.
Yeah.
She was a thrill seeker. It's why she went after all those relics.
But now they have to make her this reluctant hero where she's like, oh, I don't want to be involved in this, but it's just like all events are unfolding around me and I can't help it. It's like, that's not Lara Croft. That's not what she was ever meant to be.
Every
She's
game was
supposed
the
to be-
same arc.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's supposed to be an adventurer.
In
So,
a
like,
in a
she's-
weird meta kind of way. I imagine myself going in a time machine back to a cinema in 1981 where Raiders of the Lost Ark is playing, And then after it, just me saying, "No, just leave me here. I like it better."
And some lady punches you and drags you through the portal.
Yeah, damn it.
On the
Where did
plus
they
side,
land that plane? Because when Brown Short Round lands, it's just rubble. There's no runways. He just lands it perfectly.
I fucking
And he's
I've got
shot.
nothing.
He's shot in 2000 BC. Then he gets taken through a portal in Italy with how long's he been bleeding for?
You know,
The
time
movie is
travel.
so flaky on that because it's like he gets shot at the start
He's
of
back
the
in America.
third act, but then he's able to fight and like move around like he's completely 100%. And then when the movie decides it's time for him to die, he starts like coughing and he can barely stand up, and it's so badly done.
He should have just. He's got to get him in with Luke. Well, and Han. Disheveled Han, and deadbeat Han, and alcoholic Han. They should all meet up with Indiana.
Well, remember when Indy's dad gets shot, like at the climax of Last Crusade? Like that's him then incapacitated. He can't really like walk anywhere or do anything because the movie's smart enough to know, like, well, okay, a gunshot wound to the gut is like that's gonna like put you down.
Tell him not to speak as well. Save everything he can because he's going to be cutting it close with saving him.
Yep. But it's like this movie's just a mess.
Remember that movie opens with the antagonist for the opening responding to the that belongs in a museum with "you belong in a museum," like so do you. It's like that movie was arguing that Indy was getting on,
Yep.
But they little did
You
they
know what?
know.
This was another problem I had with Dial of Destiny. They had that 20-minute opening sequence, and it almost worked. It almost felt real. It almost felt good. The de-aging was almost okay. It would have been so much better if they'd used like little minute or half-minute sequences of that as gradual reveals throughout the film to show you what had happened in the past. So Indy's reflecting on what happened in the past and his troubles with that. And then you have little flashback sequences where you see in the train, and then that little micro story gets revealed in pieces in a more interesting, dramatic reveal way through the film. I thought that would have been a better way to do it.
That would have worked. Instead, you've got this weird wishy-washy thing where you've got the 20-minute flashback sequence to World War II, where it's like it actually feels like an indie movie for a little while, and then you get these crappy little micro flashbacks where like there's nothing really resolved. It's just like a generic like family feud almost. Like that's it's weak as fuck.
I hated that train sequence. I gotta be honest. Like, I
Well,
can't
like you
help
say,
but
that anti-aircraft gun did a lot of work on behalf of Indy.
Yeah, that basically solved the whole adventure, and it's like that's not very interesting. It didn't have anything to do with Indy. He didn't move it and aim it. He didn't sabotage it. It just got blown up by something and then killed everyone. Like
same deal with like when he's getting hung and the bomb just like lands right in the room that he's in. It's like, wow, that was really fucking lucky that happened, because if it wasn't for that, you would have been dead as fuck.
Like,
I almost laughed in the cinema when it was a lovely moment where they showed what they believed to be the Lance of Longinus or whatever it's called. And one character says, "This is the spear that pierced the side of Jesus Christ." And then there's like 1 second pause to reflect on that. No one's face changes, no one's expression is anything. And then
they're
bang,
not
on to the
awed by
next
it.
thing. Yeah, not in the slightest. It's just like some random thing they're looking at. Bizarre.
I'm surprised he didn't throw over the shoulder like the lightsaber. Just go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. It's like Christian religious icon. Like, nah, fuck it. Yeah, I like this one. Rewatched Tomb Raider, the Angelina Jolie version. It holds up quite well. She nailed the character. She did, yeah. Versus Alicia Vikander. Like, she actually... Angelina Jolie actually had, like, a bit of charisma and presence on screen. Like, she did pretty good with it.
In a Phoebe Waller-Bridge version, the little canvas shorts would be the first thing to go.
Oh, yeah. She's going to cast someone in the body positivity movement. You know that. Like,
She's riding down the rope and the rope snaps because she's about 500 pounds.
pretty much.
Yeah, I still love that like little cartoon thing where it's like body positive Lara Croft's trying to like, pull herself up over a ledge and she just can't do it. And then you just see her like crushed on rocks like below.
She installs one of those elderly staircase things where she's going beep beep as she's going up the thing. She's going, "I'll be up there in 1 second."
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
the
got
only
Ahsoka next month anyway to look forward to.
well, yeah,
That's going to
in
be
a,
boring.
in a few months we've also got the Marvels to look forward to. We
Oh,
had a
that's
lovely TV spot that just came out
Did anyone
on
watch
social media.
Did anyone watch Miss Marvel?
No.
No.
I watched it. I'll do a review before it comes out. But Jesus, it's worse than you think.
Because
It's-
it's
I
been
don't know, I
put
can
out
think
onto
quite a lot.
ABC, isn't it?
Probably.
Well, I know they're releasing it onto like network TV because like they're desperately trying to get some people to know who Ms. Marvel is before this movie comes out because no one does. So
No
you've
one knows
got-
who fucking Carol Danvers is. Like, let's be honest. She's the headliner.
At least her movie had some kind of exposure, but with with Ms. Marvel, no one knows.
Can any
no
of you
one knows
remember
who
the
she
plot
is.
for Captain Marvel?
No.
She beats an old woman on a train. Oh, she beats a guy for his bike. An
Yeah,
innocent
right.
man. She breaks his hand and steals from him. That's all I remember.
He was the patriarchy. Come
She
on.
destroys a space fleet that may or may not
She
have been
pushes away,
deserving.
pushes aside
but you've
Jude
also-
Law. That's all I remember.
You've also got Monica Rambeau, who's
Who?
again nobody fucking knows who that
Exactly.
character is either. And
Got her
so-
superpowers by trying to kill herself by walking through a weird wall of self-congratulatory echoing.
Yeah.
Was that in One Division?
Yeah,
It
it was.
was.
I never watched it.
One of the
I
weirdest
heard it was
power
terrible.
origins I've ever seen.
This is where Marvel's strategy of like using so many Disney Plus shows to try and sell their movies or vice versa starts to come back to bite them because they realize now like nobody's fucking watched the Disney Plus shows, and so nobody's going to care about the movies where you've got this team up between all these different characters that no one likes, and so they're having to do desperation moves now, like put the Ms. Marvel out onto like network TV. Like, please, someone just watch this so we've got something to market, because otherwise they've got nothing. And the latest TV spot they did is like done the rounds on social media because everyone's just laughing at how like amateurish and shit it looks.
Yeah.
And they're right, because everything about this movie just looks cheap as fuck. It's like they've just pulled out of it completely. They're like, right, bare minimum, just let's get this out and get it over with, because they know it's going to die on its arse. No one's going to care about the Marvels.
Well, I mean, talk about Marvels. Has anyone watched Secret Invasion? I haven't watched a Disney
Nope.
Plus show in forever.
I'm up to date on it, and it's like every Marvel TV show. It's a bunch of first draft scripts just smashed together.
Okay.
I'll get around to it at some point.
And that's
Yeah,
sad.
it's not.
When we think about it, Reaper, that's sad. It
Well,
was supposed to be something, you know, like for everybody who loved comic books or Marvel in the beginning.
Oh, it's not for them.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I stopped after Loki.
Ugh.
Oh, isn't Loki the one where everything in the MCU nobody had any free will whatsoever?
No,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
if they step out of line,
Destroyed
Kang will fix
everything.
them.
How can you squander such a great cast? Like Secret Invasion's got Olivia Colman in it, who's like a multiple Academy Award winner.
She's
Wow.
annoying.
You got Samuel Jackson. I mean, God.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it, but I just was like, I'm just not going to watch it. I don't want it to destroy what I remember of Fury, of
The
Jackson's
scroll
Fury.
power levels are everywhere. They're super strong, and then they're not. Then they are. Then they're not.
Mm.
So it's kind of one of those things.
I do feel bad for Amelia Clarke as well. It's like she just stumbles from like dying franchise to dying franchise. It's like Terminator, dead. Star Wars, dead. Marvel,
Yeah, no.
dying.
And let's be honest, she was there for the death of Game of Thrones too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Come with me if you want to die.
Yep.
That should be our slogan. I like the little trend of brain dead demystifying. Like Han Solo, how did he get his name Solo? There's just some random Imperial guy who decides to
Ticket
give him that
officer,
name.
yeah.
Nick Fury, how did he get his eye patch? He got scratched by a cat.
Yeah, that's
You say that like we didn't already have like something implied that was much better, where he got betrayed at some
Yeah.
point in one of his past missions, and it taught him to like always keep an eye open for.
Well, he
know,
was betrayed by that cat.
Yep.
That's the betrayal. He thought it wasn't going to scratch him.
He
But see,
trusted it.
they program these people to be so dumb who watch most of these movies, who can accept it, that they can't leave it to the imagination anymore. I mean, you used to have that in Winter Soldier. Wasn't it implied in Winter Soldier that that's how it happened? He was betrayed, like what you just said, MauLer. Right, but that plays with your mind. That's more. You get to have some interaction.
That's a less is more situation. We get to think about it.
I didn't like the fact the cat. That's
in
it.
Secret Invasion, nothing he ever did was his experience. He got Skrulls to do all his spy work for him.
Wow.
Yep.
So he's a liar. He's a fraud.
They've
and he's
literally-
never done
I
anything.
said this to MauLer at one point. It's like they are kicking themselves now that they cast a black actor to play Nick Fury, because they would have loved to have it be a white man that they could then say like, wow, all his success was built on other people.
Well, that's all the white guys are dead or like gone. So like we have to go down the next list, which is just men in general. Kill all the men. Then we have to go for the next list, which will be like women. Then it'll be trans. Then it'll be like disabled. It just keeps going.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Nick Fury, not just in the movies but in the comics as well, he's supposed to be the best spy. He's like the number one amazing spy. And it's so funny. What they did to him in that show is not too dissimilar to what like they took Deadpool in the X-Men Origins film and sewed his mouth shut, right? It's like, you know what character you're using. Like, why are you giving them this story, you idiots?
Well, Captain Marvel did the first bit of damage. He was just a sad kind of like you feel out of his elements all the time. And then Secret Invasion has just finished them off.
Yeah.
Well, talking about Deadpool, MauLer, what do y'all think of the Deadpool Wolverine eventually coming?
I was liking it. Well, I was liking what I saw, but then it's like, well, it's all on strike now. Like that movie's been completely shut down. Who knows when it's going to restart?
It's a movie that's got a lot working against it, like almost everything. I hope it ends up managing to beat that, I guess. Nice if it was good, but I don't know, man.
Isn't it only taken 1 year to film? Isn't it? It's like really fast filming process.
As far as I'm aware, they're broken up for now because of the strikes, right? They weren't complete yet.
Yeah, I mean, most principal photography takes 3 months on average for a movie.
Okay,
3 to 4 months. Like there might be reshoots and stuff. So yeah.
Harrison Ford to Anthony Mackie when they were working on the new Captain America, he was just like, let's just get this shit done, which sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fucking mess as well.
No one called him Black Falcon until his show came out. And then now everyone just calls him Black Falcon.
Yeah, there's characters in the show that call him Black Falcon.
Everyone just went, oh, it's Falcon and Captain America. Now it's just Black Falcon.
I mean, you're just like, because they're making a new Falcon. There's going to be a new guy who's Falcon now.
Oh, he's Mexican or
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a Mexican Falcon, and there's Black Falcon pretending to be Captain America.
Wait. So we've got original Falcon that's now Captain America, and now we've got like Mexican Falcon who's going to be actual Falcon.
Falcon.
Dumb as fuck. Could just let him be Falcon.
You know, it's a total mystery why people are checking out of shows like this.
What about
the U.S. agent should have been Captain America.
Fuck yeah.
When he saved that truck, he threw down a shield.
Have you seen people who like hate that character and consider that moment like just a good enough reason for him to not go to jail? I guess like he's a criminal. And I was just saying, like, that was the most earning of the shield I've ever seen. Where you
and then Falcon throws away, goes, "Oh, why would I want that?" And then complains when someone else takes it up.
They fucking break his arm to steal it back.
Right.
But that show is wild. Like, I don't know what they thought they were making.
That speech at the end, he goes, "You don't know anything about economics or immigration or anything." Yeah. And he goes, "You know what? You're right, and that's why you should listen to me."
Yeah.
I have a clue where I am or where I'm going, but I should be listened to.
Remember
that was properly written by an activist. It's like, I'm angry about something, and so that makes my opinion valid.
There were people who defended that back in the day. I don't see it anymore. It's like consistently understood to be just the most baffling shit writing ever. But there's a lot of examples of that. I was actually going to say the part where all the super soldier idiots attack good old Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then the two guys, U.S. agent and I forget the friend's name. Yeah. They save their lives, and then they get abandoned for dead by Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's just something where you're like, they did not know what they were making. They never do. Like when Black Widow fucking drowned like a whole prison in snow. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Just
right,
like, yeah,
I forgot
whatever. They're
about that.
prisoners. Who the fuck
Or
cares?
loads of them are probably political, like innocent people who just forcibly.
Yeah.
She just
The
went
film didn't give a fuck. I
I
guarantee if you ask the writers, they actually got child brains. They'd be like, well, they're prisoners. You're like, yeah.
Well, it's like
Rachel
it's
Weisz.
it's like her mom who's like she
Brainwashed,
willingly participated in the Black Widow program, like taught them how to like mind control all these young women, willingly tortures animals for her own amusement, and she's portrayed as this like funny, like, you know, likable character in the movie.
Got off scot-free.
Like, yeah, do you have any concept of morality, or is it just completely over your head, or what?
Oh, it's been nuts. Absolutely fucking crazy. The fact that you know, that you were mentioning the Daredevil Wolverine film, like, what do I think about it? As far as we know, it's confirmed that Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch is going to be turning up in it, and there's rumors that she's going to be our Scarlet Witch, but having taken over the 838 one again, the lady that she fucking ruined the life of in that movie.
Oh,
or it's just going to be...
Shut the fuck up! No, just no. I'm calling fucking halt on this. Enough! It's done. I hate this. I hate everything that this has become.
It's one of the reasons why
really gone.
It's an insult to storytelling.
That's why I'm not looking forward to that film. It's like, I'd rather not see Scarlet Witch ever again after MOM, please.
Aren't they doing a Blade with his daughter? And like, there was only 2 fight scenes in it, and it was just 8 episodes of his daughter lecturing him.
I think that got scrapped because Mahershala
I
Ali
heard it got
didn't
rewritten,
like it.
but that was the original script. It was just going to be Blade's daughter shout at Blade.
Well, maybe they'll
I mean,
stick
how many times can you do the same exact thing? Like, just recycle the same tropes.
Well, they're trying to see how many
It's been about 7 years of just doing it.
They're trying. I mean, come on. We even got Namor instead of Namor this time.
Not anymore.
Oh, yeah.
He ain't coming back.
It was like, you know, when you get these interviews with like all the brainlet actresses, like with Snow White and stuff, saying like, "Oh, this is a story now about female empowerment," whereas the original was about like the search for true love and stuff. Now it's about like what she wants and what she can like go out into the world and take. And I just think like, great, that's your wild new idea that no one's ever tried before. It's not like that's literally the plot of every single show and movie that you've made for the past 10 years. It's like
Here's
all they have now.
Maybe it's
Here's
all
my
written by
perspective on,
Disney AI or something. Like,
Here's my perspective on this, because I understand where they're coming from, that they want to have this idea of female agency, of finding out who you are and what your voice is as part of an important part of identity formulation. I get that. I understand where they're coming from. But where I run into trouble is this kind of morbid idea that somehow entering into relationships compromises that. This idea that because entering into relations is an important part of identity formulation. And there seems to be this resistance and pushback against that from these screenwriters that I see in these things and in Galadriel and Captain Marvel and Rey. This aversion or total omission of any kind of relationships because there might be some sense of compromise to do with it.
but it's also the fact that where does a relationship eventually lead if it goes well? It leads to family. They're anti-family.
Yeah.
Well, they're
yeah.
perfect to start out from, innit? It's the world that keeps them down. That's the lesson. And you are absolutely amazing, just even though you're sad and miserable and just bitter. You just need to just make everyone make up for your mistakes.
It's a horrible lesson to teach to people as well. Like, aside from the fact that it's just wrong, it's just like you're really setting them up for some horrendous like failures and disappointments if you tell people, yeah, you're just awesome the way you are, and it's just the rest of the world that has to like recognize your amazingness. You know, like, what is that going to do to a person's life if they blunder through their life thinking like, I am perfect the way I am?
But that's
they're gonna hit so many roadblocks along the way. They're gonna become so jaded from all this because you've told them incorrect things. You've taught them horrendous lessons. Like, films used to teach people, you know, like the value of improving yourself, of striving, of overcoming obstacles, of ultimately growing and becoming a better person. That's the pretty good thing to teach people, because that's what life is. It's about growing and learning things. But if you get beyond that and like you just tell them like, yeah, you're perfect, like, oh, what is that going to do to people?
The reason you're unhappy is everyone else's fault, and you need to make them make you happy.
Well,
Yeah,
right, but
It's
that's
like,
why
that's insane.
But that's why they've introduced personal truth. If you think about
Yeah.
it, it's your personal truth. If you feel good, it's your personal truth. It doesn't. There's no objectivity to it.
Well, that's back to Sam's speech, innit? My truth is that I don't know anything, but I should be listened to.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Exactly. I mean, you got participation trophy. There was a teacher I listened to who was talking about we don't teach kids that they can lose. That's why we teach them all they can win, because losing is too painful. I'm like, have you heard of life? You know,
Participation trophies are just you're the first loser.
The crazy thing is the potential for loss is what makes winning sweet.
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
no
that's why
loss, there's no
bullies are so useful, because like you need someone to beat the shit out of you and teach you like, yeah, you're fucking weak and you need to like do better.
And
like,
then you
that's
get a
what
gun and kill the bully.
Exactly, yeah.
Shoot up the school.
Yeah.
They all ignored me, not anymore.
But it used to be like,
But yeah, I mean,
personal failings were recognized, and they became things that you either overcame or you didn't. And it was a kind of sink or swim environment. And it's kind of unforgiving, but that's the way the world is. It's the way life is. You either you improve
Sink
and
or swim,
thrive,
yeah.
or you don't. That's up to you. But well, if you're teaching people that like, no, you don't need to do anything, you're just amazing as you are, that's not going to work. That's not going to set them up for success in life.
No.
Well, that was Velma.
But in traditional male hero's journey character arcs, it always involves a princess and wanting to rescue the princess and ending up with a relationship with the princess. So it's not just something that needs to be revised on the female side. Like there's some exception there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I just think where they're going is I think anthropologists in the future are going to have a laugh when they see what's come out of this era. They're going to be, what the hell did they make?
It's
Come on,
that was that
joke.
time where they took logic and common sense and just said, we're going to do the opposite.
It's
Exactly.
heavy metal in the drinking water. Everyone went crazy.
But
Yeah.
how much longer really do you think this could last for Hollywood? I mean, Disney's
Then it
now.
collapse.
You think none of them are going to be like, okay, look, Disney's going under. We got to pump the brakes here.
Well, for the longest time, they've had investor money coming in, so it doesn't matter really what the audience thought. And now that it's drying up, with the strike going on, they said they were going to bankrupt the writers, weren't they? Because they're trying to clean house.
Yep.
But we'll see how that goes, because if AI can take over, then it might actually get good again, but it might collapse before that happens.
Yep.
Can we talk a little bit about the seven? Can we talk a little bit about the seven dwarfs?
7 homeless drug addicts she found.
The 7 like non-binary,
I put together
gender-neutral, magical forest creatures of non-specific origin. I think that's what you have to call
She
them.
found at a bus stop.
Yeah.
I just put together a composite image which had I imagined Warwick Davis as Doc, Tony Cox from Bad Santa, the little black guy.
Oh.
Imagine him as Grumpy, and then imagine Jason Acuna from Jackass as Wee Man. Imagine him as Dopey or as Happy. Like
Wee
imagine
Man
just
would
the
be
comedic interplay between those 3 guys would be so much fun. It'd be heartening and wonderful to watch. You'd have young people coming out of the cinema with positive associations about little people. It would have been fantastic. Instead, you've got like these guys who look like they've wandered out of Glastonbury, like these dirty hippies. It just looks ridiculous.
I legit, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull the cinematic release and they just put this onto Disney Plus as quietly as possible.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's quite possible.
Because this
I
has
hope
got nothing but negativity around it.
No, especially after you had the Little Mermaid and Peter Pan.
Yep.
Well, you've changed so much about the story that it's no longer Snow White. She's not Snow White. She looks like Red Riding Hood in the pictures. They're not dwarves. 7 of them look homeless. There's no Prince Charming. Like the story's not even remotely. At what point is it no longer Snow White?
Yeah. Your main
good
character is different, your premise is different, your supporting characters are different. It's just
The ending's going to be different.
It's just stealing the name at that point. It's just basically like slap by in the name, just like exactly what Amazon did with Tolkien. Let's
Porn
grab his
parodies
name.
are closer.
Yeah. Oh, whew, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. More fun to watch as well.
I don't see
I
why
don't,
Peter
yeah.
Dinklage had his knickers in such a twist, because the 7 dwarves in the original film, they're not characters to be mocked or laughed at. I mean, in the broader commonality of Disney characters, they fit in that broad mainstream, and they've got a lot of agency. They make good moral choices. They're good characters. So I don't
Well,
think
he's
It's
pulling
just
up
purely
that tiny
because-
stepladder from him.
Yep. It's just purely because, well, one, it's just jealousy, and two, it's because they're not portrayed as like 100% serious at all times. It's like that's it. So I'm outraged about something. Well, a minority is unhappy about something. We have to change the entire setup of the movie now, and unironically, like, screw other people out of acting roles that they could have done.
Yeah, even though what is it? You know, the source material, skin as white as snow. No. Yeah,
Yep.
doesn't seem to match.
I do like the idea as well that Gal Gadot is like the ugly, evil stepmother who's jealous of
the
Snow White's
beauty.
beauty. It's like, if I had Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, I know which one I would pick.
yeah.
Maybe she's a
I had a
racist.
feeling
Maybe
they
that's
wanted-
the difference.
Yeah.
But
Only
also
the
the thing
brownest
that
woman and goes after her. She's got
It's
a
not
big
as if the
white
characters
husband,
weren't
she just
malleable.
chases her.
It's not as if the characters weren't malleable. Like, you could adapt them. You could give the dwarves witty and funnier dialogue. You could give them more agency. You could have them do more things. You could have done that with little people in the roles. So it's not as if it's stuck in stone.
No, but they don't do that. Again, they have their message machine.
As always.
But it's funny how dwarves should technically be like high up on the woke hierarchy, but because they're men and Rachel Zegler's a woman,
God.
she's above them. So 7 dwarves got screwed out of a job just to keep this woman in. So it's
Well,
kind
now
of like
they're not even all men now, because there's like
a black
you've got
woman, yeah.
Oh, I
You've
didn't
got-
know that.
different like genders, different ethnicities of dwarves. Like, they have just got every box ticked, I think.
Yeah.
In that list of dwarves there.
Except for
So
dwarves.
it's like social justice bingo.
Pretty
Kind
much,
of, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I like that when you said apart from actual dwarves.
It's got everything you want except for dwarves.
Yeah.
The one
But they
thing
do have
everyone wants.
What a joke this movie
one of the
is.
magical people is actually a dwarf, like a little person actor. So if it's okay
Just
to
get
have one
6
little
more.
person actor, why not just have 6 more?
So they got one.
Yeah. So they're token. That's how
He
they
lied about his height.
I mean, I said this in
Like
my
that aside. Yeah.
I said this in my video that I made. It's like, this movie is what happens when you try to appease everyone.
Yeah.
When you listen to literally everybody, like Peter Dinklage, all the the different like racial activists, feminists, everyone. This is the movie you end up with. It's like just this horrible Frankenstein's monster of like social justice hierarchies just all competing with each other. And it just loses every single ounce of the charm and timelessness that made the original movie good in the first place.
Rupert, that was hilarious. You said that dwarf actor might have lied about his height to get to the necessary
Yeah,
height
they
to be a
accidentally
magical
cast a
person
dwarf
who's
and they're
supposed
just
to be
angry. He's the angry one, yeah,
That's
because you're the angry.
Should we do a few super chats?
Yeah.
All right, let's tackle them. Waylon Bicephus, and this is a serious question because he said serious question. He says, "Gay bitches or Helen Oya bitch?" I'll put that to the panel. You guys can decide.
Smoky.
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
He's saying a lot of slurs tonight.
He's got nothing to say. Smokey. Oh, he moved a little bit. He's still alive. That's okay. Hypnohype says, "Drink battle. I want everyone to choose a movie character that will participate in a drinking contest. Who will win? Place your bets, gentlemen." famous drinkers from movies.
Well, I'd go with Bender from the Futurama films.
Fair
Yeah, that's
dues.
good.
I'm going to go with
Marion,
Gary
Best
King.
chance.
Marion Ravenwood.
Yeah, oh, damn, I was just about to say that.
I picked Gary King from The World's End.
It's a good
He likes his
choice.
Good
booze.
one.
Damn.
George, what are you going to go for?
I almost want to think, but it's. You remember Nick Cage's movie, the Vegas one? I just can't remember the name. Where it's all
He drinks himself to death.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm blanking. All I can think of is Gary puking in Team America, but that's the worst voice imaginable.
You
could also
gave
go
up on
Legolas.
life, didn't you? Don Blackbird says, saw Oppenheimer today. It's the best Nolan since The Dark Knight. Beautifully directed, and Robert Downey Jr. steals the show. Doesn't run into classic Nolan character issues. Some great boobs on display here. Wasn't expecting that at all.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice. It
Alrighty,
it
hey.
can't be Florence Pugh, though. She's not got...
No, she don't have anything.
Doesn't have much going on there.
Can you believe The Dark Knight is, what, 15 years old now? The Dark Knight?
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow,
That's
I
crazy.
remember.
And he said he'll never make a superhero movie again.
I'm fine with that.
I imagine that in the current climate, it makes a lot of sense that he said that.
I
would
still
do it.
remember watching his Insomnia with Al Pacino.
Oh,
That
he
Robin
directed
Williams
that.
was in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when Robin Williams took his dark turn and he did that 1 hour photo film and things. It was a good little period.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I
I
like
remember
love
that movie, yeah.
Insomnia.
Chuck Sunhausen says, will Oppenheimer be a box office bomb in Japan? Ooh.
Ooh. That's a good one.
It would be quite interesting to see what their reaction is to that movie, actually.
What did y'all see the interview with Robert Downey Jr.? The clip that was making that went online where he was
Is it the one where he
asked,
said men shouldn't have weapons, women should
Right.
rule the world?
the matriarchy should rule the world. I'm like,
Well, we saw Barbie. That doesn't work, does it? You're just getting enslaved.
Yeah.
If Admiral Holdo's taught us anything as well, it's like they'd be really horrendous in a military situation. So
I forgot
yeah.
about it.
Grimnack says, I wonder how much SJW backlash there will be for not having a body positive Barbie. We could have had Amy Schumer. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, well. What can we do? Andrew McCarthy says, cheers, I just finished Futurama. 1 to 4 is amazing. Season 5 is crap. 6 and 7 are meh with some good episodes, but the finales were great overall. I'd give it 8.6 out of 10.
Solid review, actually. I think I mostly agree
I
with
agree
all
with
of
that, yeah.
It's never a show that I sought out to watch or look forward to watching, but if it happened to be on, I would watch it. It was that kind of category of show.
That
Yeah.
dog episode is just unwatchable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
like
dark
good.
ending.
It's good, and then I just switch it off before the end.
Yeah.
So
It's a
the
tough
first
one,
4
like-
seasons are really solid. The writing
great,
behind them. The idea is that a lot of the great writers from Simpsons went over to start up Futurama, and so that's the Simpsons starts to go downhill around the time Futurama was made.
Right.
Yep. Ghost of Drinker's Liver says, if the open bar background ever gets an update, the critical doggos should be playing poker at one of those tables. I think we should do that, actually, MauLer. What do you reckon?
Wait, what was that? What was the idea?
So if we update the background, the critical doggos should be playing poker at one of the tables in the background.
Yeah,
Like those
I think so.
paintings
We
that-
can
like
get the
those-
artist to update it, I think.
Add a few more guests.
One of that
Fill the
little-
room.
Yeah. Cirrhosis of Liver says, wow, it's Reaper. Glad to see you on here. Don't go soft on us when you get big. I expect at least 165 expletives per video henceforth.
I will do on my live stream. It'll just be bleeps.
Yeah.
Did you just say
It's 3 hours. Just
expletives?
beep. Yeah.
Expletives? I've never heard it said that way. You
Oh.
fucking weirdo. Expletives.
What can I say? Expletives. That's how it's said, isn't it?
Expletives.
Expletives.
No, expletives.
I thought it was expletives.
Well,
Look what he started.
Well,
That's how-
he is the writer, so I'm starting to
Right.
question my own existence now.
yeah, it's the correct Scottish way of saying it. I
MauLer,
suppose.
I'm so glad, MauLer, that you're a person who says biopic. I'm one of those people too, rather than biopic.
Good to meet you. We've met. I just mean it's so rare you can come across people who say it that way.
Yeah.
Biopic. Yeah.
Expletives.
Aluminum. Okay. Marky Mark says, "Hello, gents. Out of the movies Heat and The Town, which do you prefer and why?"
Oh,
The Heat. Sorry, the Heat probably. Just the
Is
cast.
The Town the one with Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
yeah.
I like that one. I haven't seen Heat, so I'll just go Town.
Fair enough.
Heat, definitely.
Yeah, I think Heat having like De Niro, Pacino, and Val Kilmer. It's a pretty good cast. So I'd go with that.
And Reaper, Ben Affleck in a Geordie accent. That sounds special.
Yeah, well, yeah, it sounds like he's got a low IQ. Yeah.
Ben Affleck.
Ghost of Drinker's Liver says, "Any chance we could see Clownfish TV as a guest?" We've had Clownfish on, haven't we, before, MauLer? Help me. Wait, no. It might be Yellow Flash.
Yellow Flash we've had, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we can get Clownfish on. We can do that.
Aren't they making a Heat sequel finally? I heard something about that a few months ago.
Who knows?
Let me
They're
guess,
making a
two women.
sequel to... They're making a sequel to Gladiator for some reason. So
Really?
And
I thought he
anything can
died.
fucking happen.
He died.
I just feel like now is the right time for a Gladiator sequel. Don't you guys agree?
Zombie Russell Crowe is 500 pounds.
yeah, he's a little bit bigger.
I mean, he's
He's going to eat his way out of hell.
He's
That's-
eating all the other souls, and he's fat as fuck.
We joke that all of us would watch it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would
Yeah, I'd
watch
watch
it.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
Asher Dales, this is a two-parter, says, Disney could have done something half interesting with Snow White, Witch Hunter. She has to investigate a plot plaguing a village. The villagers think it's the dwarves living in the mountain. As she uses cunning intelligence and feminine wiles to pull on threads, it leads back to the queen siphoning the life out of the villagers to feed her eternal beauty. I'd watch that.
Yeah,
Didn't
sounds
they
neat.
do the Huntsman film? With
Yeah,
Chris
they did.
Hemsworth? Hasn't he already done something like that?
Oh, yeah.
And what was Mouth Breather again? Fucking,
Mouth breather?
yeah, the last that starred in the Twilight movies.
Twilight.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen
That's
Stewart.
it.
Kristen Stewart,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice.
Again,
Well,
she
the
wasn't as pretty as.
Yeah. Bold prediction: Oppenheimer will be meh at best. I don't know. I think it's
Yeah, I
gonna
don't
be
think
good.
so.
I've heard good things. I'm hoping.
J.S. Pena says, "New Clown World will make the one with Eddie Murphy look good." Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the. They've got tiny little icons here. Yeah, Ghost House.
Oh, Haunted Mansion?
Haunted Mansion.
Haunted
yeah.
Mansion.
Haunted Mansion, yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it will. Taker610 says, Drinker and MauLer, I'm glad to see the rumor of you both getting lock balls seems to have been unfounded. Lord of the Rings Gollum has been recalled due to this. Yeah, we made it out of that. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Our balls did not get locked up.
Not permanently.
Yeah.
Isn't the studio dead?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, they've shut
Kill the
their
studio.
doors.
It's one of the worst games ever made.
Well,
They
it's our
need-
first game, and we're dead.
They need to remake the whole studio because they would forever be known as the fucking Gollum people.
Yeah.
Yep. Jeff Romantics says, Drinker, do you have any drive-in theaters where you live? We have a local one and it's playing Sound of Freedom and Mission Impossible double feature this weekend. That's pretty cool. But no, we don't really have drive-in movie theaters in the UK.
Really? None?
I feel like that's just a thing in like the southern states in America where the weather's good and you can actually
It
do
rains
it.
a lot.
Yeah,
It does rain a lot here, yeah.
it does, yeah. High winds would blow the
You can't
screen
hear
over and
anything.
stuff.
Your windows are up, your roof's on. You just gotta guess what they're saying.
But yeah, you'd be absolutely fucking miserable. Then eventually you'd be like, why don't we just go to the fucking
Kids-
regular theater?
Cars boiling hot, everyone's just throwing stuff at each other. You go, I'm turning round if you don't shut up.
What did y'all think of the Wonka trailer?
Oh,
Ugh. Hugh
Don't
Grant is
care.
a Oompa Loompa.
Why are they making more Willy Wonka movies? Is the world really crying out for more of this stuff?
Where does that black girl go? Because she's younger than him. Does she like fall into the chocolate machine? And that's why it's like he just because that's the problem when you have all these like background characters and prequels.
I don't fucking know what the hell is going on. Like with that one, they really think it's gonna work.
I have no
Sure,
idea.
go for it.
It's $200 million.
Willy
budget
Wonka's
again.
got to be. Willy Wonka's got to be charismatic and eccentric and have some dubious macabre aspect to his personality, but they've got the most bland, wishy-washy Timothy Chalamet as who's not a leading man. He's not meant to be a leading man.
Well, and let's just say, like, I wasn't expecting him to be able to pull it off. Then I saw the trailer and I was like, right. So you definitely can't pull it off. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's especially interesting now that they're editing all of Dahl's books. You know,
God.
removing
Oh yeah,
everything
yeah. Making them suitable for a modern audience.
for modern audiences. So
They're not
you can only
offensive.
wonder what they've done to the film.
Yep.
Augustus Gloop is no longer fat. He's enormous. Which doesn't seem any that less derogatory to me to call someone enormous.
He's body positive.
Yeah.
Fuller figured.
Healthy.
Bones.
as it's
yeah.
now called.
He's beautiful, as they say.
Yeah. Got a 2319. It says, Hail Drinker, question for you all. Do you feel that sci-fi from the pre-Neuromancer and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, otherwise known as Blade Runner, era is better or worse? These two works make up the foundation of modern sci-fi tropes like cyberpunk.
So are they asking, like, of all of the new sci-fi that comes out, was it better before then or after then?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Well, I think, sci-fi from that Philip K. Dick era. I mean, everything about his works has some interesting themes to it, and paranoia, and ideas about the future and post-apocalyptic, from Minority Report to Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. So, yeah, I think thematically it was better.
It's Android. We have Android.
But I mean, if we're talking about movies and so on, like, yeah, you could argue, like, well, Star Trek and things like Star Wars came before that era of those movies. And so, is that better sci-fi?
Aliens.
Kind of hard to say,
Alien, at least.
because there's a lot of great sci-fi that's come out in the past, even 30 years plus, that like doesn't get a lot of attention. There's a lot of surprisingly much gets dumped on, Netflix, and someone has to find like all the ones that are actually any worthwhile.
Altered Carbon was great. The first season.
Season 1 was good. Yeah, season 2
Second
was
season just I don't know. what
Westworld
happened.
would count as sci-fi, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, well, that movie dates back to what, the 70s?
70s with
70s?
Yul Brenner. With Yul Brenner, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I don't know. You know they're now making Fallout. It's Christopher Nolan's brother. Is making Fallout
game?
for Amazon. Yeah.
Well, he did season 1 of Westworld, which was good, and then he
Yeah.
kind of stepped
His
away,
wife
and that's
took
when it
over.
became yeah, and then it became absolute fucking garbage.
It's like James Gunn wife. All the wives just keep trying to get into their jobs and just destroy them.
Yeah.
It's like, you take me to work. He goes, okay.
Before you know it, she's running the show.
Yeah, he goes to the toilet and she's in the director's seat.
Kedge says, so MauLer, will there be an EFAP where Rags and Anna talk about the Barbie movie?
Yeah, apparently Rags is like, when he was young, watched a bunch of the fucking animated Barbie movies, and he's willing to like rank them. Obviously, me and Free were like, "What the fuck?" Like, just, I guess if you really want to, but like,
Yeah.
I don't think Rags is gonna like this new Barbie movie. From what I've seen, the story is, I have a feeling that he wanted to see an adventure where, a girl is trying to find her place in the world or something. I don't think he was hoping for a smashing of the patriarchy. It's not quite what he was expecting.
Don't think any of us were hoping for that. RRTNZ says, Drinker, I humbly submit that Barbie isn't worthy of your time, even to ridicule. Instead of mockery, do a review boycott, because that would equate to millions of people not wasting time on this garbage. I mean, I suppose it depends on your point of view. Like, if I said to people, this is really horrible, you really shouldn't watch it because it's not worth your time, perhaps a lot of people then wouldn't.
I mean, when was the last time you said something was really, really, really bad? Go watch it.
Eternals?
No.
Velma?
No.
She-Hulk?
Velma's somehow coming back for season 2. Hate watching works, apparently.
But I think that'll be Ryan Johnson, like his trilogy's in development.
Look at hate watching works. Look at the box office for Indiana Jones. The movie got shredded by everyone online.
Yeah, but it's different for like streaming TV shows, isn't it? Like the metrics are different. It's all just about
as far as I'm concerned, it's all a
engagement.
fucking myth. I don't believe whatsoever that talking about how bad a show is keeps it alive. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Maybe for the first few episodes, but then no one's going to watch 12 episodes of a show they despise.
True, yeah. Angry Batman says from on MGM Plus is a great show. Horror, mystery, suspense, the best parts of Lost without the disappointment. Okay. Glippy says first movie I've liked Florence Pugh in. I can think of 2 reasons why she was great in this movie. Seriously though, Oppenheimer was great. So it must be her that gets topless. I didn't think she had much going on there, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe it's CGI.
I mean, I never really got the whole Florence Pugh thing. Like, I don't really.
You
get why
just hate
she's...
Midsummer and Black Widow and whatever else she's in.
It's not because of her, but those are shit movies.
And Hawkeye.
Oh.
She was very good in Little Woman. She starts off as a younger character, and then she matures and evolves. So I'll give her credit for that. She was very good.
There you go.
She just always came across as like a shorter, dumpier, less attractive version of like Ana de Armas.
Oh, good point.
And I can't unsee that now. And the fucking nose ring that she always insists on wearing.
She's trying to make herself
doesn't
more
help.
ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you look like a
Orange
farmyard animal or something.
She's going to be in Dune 2, so get ready for more Pew.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know she was in Dune 2.
The Empress, isn't she? Or
she's somebody important.
high up.
And to think about that, Virginia Madsen was originally in the original one, in Dune. I always thought she was. The actors from back then were much better.
Kaylee Fall says, if Gal Gadot must be the evil queen in Snow Off-White and the 7 Cabbage Patch Kids, then I would have cast Olivia Morris as Snow White. At least then the queen would have had an actual reason to envy Snow White's beauty. Fair enough.
Well, she'll be a racist. That's the only thing I can think of.
Of course. Intelligent Crayon Eater says, isn't Greta Gerwig directing a reboot of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for Netflix? Can't wait to see how they miss the point by injecting modern politics and avoid the Christian allegorical tones.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find it.
Yeah, she's not going to read any of C.S. Lewis.
Michael Kravitz says, open bar, my body is ready. Evening, gents. Well, I'm glad your body is ready, because we're here. Lilac and Snosbury says, of course Disney needs to sell off assets. How else will they be able to afford to make such stellar content as Nebraska Jones and the Dial of Dyspepsia? Not Snow White and the 7, whatever they are, and 35 more other Marvel shows. Well, that's it, yeah, they keep going. And I'll do a couple more and then finish up. Unhinged says, you know what doesn't suck? My Shadowband IG comic back Frog G today if you can find it. Okay. And T1S says, hey MauLer, I just rewatched EFAP number 110. When will you guys be doing an episode with Surveillance Cameraman? He could be easily one of the top 5 great EFAP guests. Also, hi Rags.
Hey, if he wants to jump on, we'll have him. I think that was we watched some videos from him. He does things where he like goes to places that I think I can't remember if he's not allowed or is allowed to go to, but he'll just stand there and record. And you'll have people who are just sitting down doing nothing, so slowly realize he's there, and they're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He's just silent. It's just like, you just see people have all kinds of different reactions. At least that's what I remember. I haven't actually watched this stuff for a few years, probably since that EFAP. So,
okay.
Funny stuff.
What are you up to now on EFAP? Because that was like 110.
244. We are 6
Whoa.
episodes away from the next anniversary. Another 24-hour stream.
Damn.
It's gonna be tough, but there'll be plenty to talk about.
I think we've probably done quite a few super chats there. I might finish it up for the evening. But I want to say thanks to you gentlemen for joining us for this. It's been lovely to have you on.
It's been great being here.
And
thanks, man.
Echo and George, you guys have obviously returned, so you know, thank you for coming back to Open Bar, and Reaper, thank you for coming on for the first time, man. It's been great to have you on.
Oh, thanks. Good to be on.
Nice one. And thanks to everyone who's sent us all these lovely super chats. Obviously, we didn't get through them all tonight, but we'll catch up on them as we always do. I thank you to our mods for doing the same sterling job that they always do, keeping the peace in chat. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, that's all we got for today. So we're gonna go away now.
Bye.
Bye.